Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Yep. Fuck it.
The only thing we have to
Beer.
is
Beer.
itself.
Beer. So many choices.
Only no function beer well without.
Woohoo! Beer!
Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Busters. We'll bring you the news and reviews of your favorite brews. I am Dan Baker, joined by my co-host and brewologist,
Steph Hefner.
and of course the demented and fermented
Wayne Baker.
I, in my head, had to go word by word. I am now in my own head about fucking up the name of this show. From what, 2 episodes ago, I think it was?
Something
After
like that.
8 years?
How long have you been doing this?
Close to 8 years.
How can you have an issue?
I don't know. It just happened, and I'm just in my head now. And it's
That's all right. Wayne has forgotten how the game works, so.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That is
Every
true.
time.
And that's been more than one episode.
Every time.
Yeah,
Every
Every time.
I only messed up the name of the show once.
I mean, at this point, it's tradition, really.
Yeah, you have to.
That's true.
Tradition. Speaking of tradition,
Hey,
Oh,
segue.
shit.
thank you for that segue.
Did you see that little T I put
Yeah,
that ball on
it was
for
good,
you?
and I still whiffed.
Well done. That was well done.
Well, you know the voice if you are a longtime listener. We have our tradition of doing an annual Valentine's-ish episode. We are recording this 2 days before Valentine's Day. You will hear it math days after Valentine's Day. 5 days?
Less than a week.
Yeah. You'll hear it in the near future. But we have to do it. We have to keep this one going with our friend Greg Orth, who's from Craft Hastings. How are you, sir?
I am well. Thank you, Dan and Wayne and Steph, for having me here yet again. And I think we do this every year. I don't remember how many years it's been. I think this is either 7 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure.
This is...
And every year we have this conversation.
I know we do.
Can't
I
We
know
always,
check it.
we always
And-
think
and-
that we'd write it down, and we don't.
You know, I mean, we have absolutely no way of looking up that information
If
whatsoever.
we were smart people, we would know this on
Yeah.
the snap of a finger what
It's,
we are, but
it's-
I can't remember.
7
Well,
or
this
8.
is the 8th year we've been doing the podcast, so I think this is the 7th time
I'm
we've
gonna-
had you
yes,
on.
I'm going to say 7.
Okay.
Correct. Let's
with
just go with 7.
All right.
Yeah, I think that checks out.
But
That
anyway,
sounds
thank
right.
you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, of course.
Absolutely.
I'm really glad that we could find a way to still keep this tradition alive. And for
Absolutely.
anyone who is not aware of Greg Orth or Craft Hastings, more or less you do food and beverage pairings. It's not just beer anymore, because our last episode with you was the glorious world of whiskey, and I
Absolutely.
Oh, I 100% forgot about that.
Yes.
I wonder why.
I dream about it multiple nights a week.
Oh, that was so awesome.
Yeah, that was
it
a
really
fun one.
was.
that
yeah.
was intense.
Yeah, so for people that don't know me, I'm Greg with Craft Tastings, and I started out with beer and chocolate and doing beer and chocolate pairings. And then just kind of over the years, we continued to do beer and chocolate. Then we did beer and cheese and beer and bacon. And then all of a sudden we started to migrate into whiskey and bourbon and whiskey and bourbon pairings. And that's kind of where we are. We just pair spirits, beer with food. That's who we are.
There's a word.
Make people happy.
Yes, there's a word that will happen multiple times, and if you are not familiar with the way these
yes.
episodes work, you have to go with 1 + 1 = 3, but that equals a mouthgasm.
It's all, you know what, Dan, it's all about the mouthgasm. And sometimes people get a little uncomfortable with it, right? But when you have one, it's amazing.
Yeah,
And by the way, and we've said it before, and I'll say it again, you might have multiples.
I hope so.
And you always remember your first.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely.
that's accurate, because I still tell people about our first one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Again, anyone who has not listened to the previous episodes, that like the holy grail, at least for me, with the beer and the food pairings, is the Mad Elf with the Hershey Special Dark.
Absolutely.
And you don't know how glorious it is until you try it. And I legit still, to this day, tell people that they need to do
You
it.
know what, though? There was really something special about that vintage of Mad Elf, too.
Yeah, because it was
Because it doesn't
extra
always
cherry-y.
work to that intensity every time you have Mad Elf, but that year it was just the perfect level of cherry, and yeah, that was a very, very memorable experience, and
Yeah.
probably why we keep inviting you back.
Well, thank you.
Well, that and you're a great
and
guy.
And because we like you.
Well, thank you. But I tell you what, every single event that I do Mad Elf and Hershey's Special Dark. Like
you have to.
Even if it's a whiskey tasting, I will do Mad Elf and Special Dark. And then to your point, the older the Mad Elf, the better, which is a whole different subject.
Yeah.
But the older the Mad Elf because the alcohol subsides and all that kind of good stuff. But Mad Elf from Trogs and Hershey's Special Dark, put the two together and you will get, Dan, go ahead and say it.
A mouthgasm.
A mouthgasm.
Oh my God. Getting a little uncomfortable over here.
Now, I know we have some things to take care of, but I do have to. Greg had asked before we started officially rolling some of the pluses to recording the podcast virtually. And Greg, one of the biggest pluses has been that I don't have to schedule episodes 6 to 8 months out, because we were at times booked 8 months out for the podcast for quite a while. And now we're just going pretty much monthly, usually as long as I have one more planned. And so I only reached out to you a little more than a month ago. And my favorite thing ever was your response to my email. And you said, I thought you were breaking up with me. No, we would never break up with you, Greg.
Honestly, Seth, I was sincere when I sent that email. I'm like, dear God, did they not like me anymore?
Oh, man, that could never happen.
Did I F up the last time that we were on the podcast? Like, what's going on? Like, I was serious about that.
Yeah, because usually I'd be emailing you in the fall to get this on the books because we would schedule so far out. But yeah, that's been a dream not having to book things so far in advance. But yeah, no, we're not breaking up with you, and we're glad you're here.
Oh, thank God.
Very much so.
Turns out it's a lot easier to get people on the podcast if they don't have to leave their living room to do it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, you can wear your pajama pants and still be on the podcast.
Yep.
And I'm not gonna lie, it's nice to not have to drive to Sinking Springs for this, but I do miss being with you guys in person on the pool table, drawing on the sheet that's on top of that, which I love to do. But you know what? This is the next best thing.
We should clarify that when we record in studio at Steph's basement, we use her pool table as our podcast.
I was gonna say, I don't know if we ever actually fessed up to that.
No, I don't. And it's a pool table. I don't know. We
no,
probably
no.
did.
There's a piece that we put plywood on top
Yeah,
of
so
it.
there's
and
a
a
giant
tablecloth.
piece of plywood.
But when he said on top of the pool table, not where my mind went.
Thought we had to have a little footnote there.
No, it's this high-end porcelain bar that we.
Yeah. Could you imagine us doing this podcast on an expensive bar? Have you seen the tablecloths we take
Right,
with us?
yeah. Well, yeah, he doodles on all of them.
Yeah. That's an unfortunate thing since COVID doing the podcast is we haven't had anybody sign our tablecloths in almost a year.
I swear to God, my favorite thing is coming and signing the tablecloth.
Well, you don't just sign it. We
Oh, I draw on
document the
Yeah.
episode on there. Like
Yes.
most of the pairings we've done
Yeah.
with you are on a tablecloth somewhere.
Yeah, it's all tasting notes.
it.
I believe there's a drawing of a pig from the bacon year.
like tonight. If I was there, I would be drawing Dana from Costco on the tablecloth. That's what I would do.
That appropriate logo for
Big
this episode.
D, Big Dana from Costco. That's what I would do.
Good old Big
Perfect.
D.
Oh,
On the pool table.
Oh, God.
Get that Big D on the pool table.
Next time we will break out a brand new tablecloth for you.
I love
Oh,
it.
yeah, I get the inaugural drawing.
I don't know if I want that though.
Really?
That's true. Yeah,
I,
you want
I like all the chaos of the tablecloth.
the graffiti.
I guess
Anyway.
it's like a pair of shoes. You can't wait till they're broken in, and nobody likes to break them in. You want the comfy tablecloth that has been broken in.
That's such a great analogy.
I-
It truly is.
Was worried that you were going to say the exact opposite.
No, Dan, I think that is brilliant. That is so true.
All right, I'll take it.
Get their shoes.
I'll
Anyway,
take it.
I'm sorry.
Maybe one of these days I'll stop doubting myself.
We
Who knows?
digress.
Yeah, exactly.
We do. Oh yeah, we're on the internet. Follow us.
Yes, exactly. You know where to go by now. At Beerbusters, Twitter and Instagram, Facebook. We are Beerbusters Podcast. There's beerbusterspodcast.com/shop. Get yourself some sweet, sweet merch. Patreon.com/beerbusters. Get your way into last call. Greg, not to put you on the spot, but traditionally you do have to drive back to your place and can't drink and hang out for very long. Are we going to get a last call with you this time around?
Damn right we're
course.
getting a last
Fucking
call.
right.
Oh,
If it wasn't
I
worth
guess-
it for your money on Patreon before, it damn well better be and is now.
damn well bleeping better be. Yes.
Yes.
When do you bleep yourself?
Oh, well then damn well fucking better.
Goddamn
Yes.
right.
Well, he just did just recently, before we started recording, talking about how much time you've been spending on Zoom lately for your day job.
Yeah.
So he's probably used to censoring himself on camera on a regular basis.
True.
It's
True.
tough.
Although when you called us motherfuckers as soon as you jumped into this call.
I did. I said, "Hey, what's up, motherfuckers?"
That is also true.
But he also didn't have his branded background on at that point yet
Yeah.
either.
That's
So
true.
it was very,
That's true.
very informal. So, yeah, I did want to say one thing talking about Patreon and Last Call. Obviously, somebody on our team has kind of dropped the ball getting those episodes out, that somebody being me, for quite a while. But the Mad Chef episode from the last podcast release, Last Call, is up. This one will be up in a timely manner. I have some plans on addressing the backlog, but we're going to be releasing the current ones. There was a second point that I had, and that was, speaking of Greg's amazing, beautiful branded background, if you want to see that, you can go to youtube.com/beerbusterspodcast, where we have for the last several episodes been releasing a video version of the Happy Fun Time game, complete with cool graphics and stuff. So be sure to check that out, and keep a lookout for this episode because Greg's background is very much on point, and I want people to see it.
And I'm sexy,
Well,
there's
there's
that
that.
too.
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
Of
yeah.
course.
right, Dana from Costco? Right?
That was an emphatic
Come on,
smile
Dana.
and nod.
Come on, Dana.
Dana doesn't talk on the episode.
Oh, yes, Dana does.
Sounds like you just did.
Breaking all the rules.
Yeah, right.
Oh, my. So official business is out of the way.
And by the way, Steph, I know people can't see this because it's a podcast, but your glasses are on fleek. They're
Thanks.
awesome.
They are the fleekest glasses
Do
I've
people
ever
still
seen.
say on fleek?
I don't know. I'm trying to be cool because that's what my kids tell me to do. Be cool, Dad.
Say fleek.
Say fleek,
Say
yeah.
fleek, Dad.
And fleek.
But yeah, so you can see those glasses on YouTube too.
That is true.
More
If
reason
you're
to
a
go.
Patreon member.
No, the
So you
YouTube
should-
videos are for everybody.
Oh, nice. Even
Yeah.
better.
They are
Even
for
gooder.
The whole world is going to see your background.
public consumption.
Nice.
So last episode, I think it was last episode, we announced that we are part of an event that is on the horizon. And it's weird because
We haven't been part of an event in a while.
I know we haven't been able to be
There
part
haven't
of
been events for a
and,
while.
And as the world turns more and more virtual, it's exciting to see the things that are coming out of, I guess let's call it the silver lining of what the past year has given us. A lot of organizers have been able to really just roll with the punches and find a way to just improvise and adapt. And I love it. And we couldn't be happier to be part of the Philadelphia Grain and Malt Symposium. Now that's going to be March 8th and 9th, and we're going to get all the details because we have joining us, old friend of the show, one of the driving forces behind the symposium. We have Mark Brault from Deer Creek. How are you, sir?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Thank you for joining us to spread the news.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course. Well, we should say thank you to you for having us for it. So I guess basically we should go into, a little bit of what the event is going to be and where our involvement comes in. But I know there's other parts to the event as well, to the symposium. So it's March 8th and 9th of 2021. So if you're listening to this as it is released, if it's afterwards, sorry. Now, it's a 2-day event that is going to be basically revolving all around grain, which I think is awesome because that's in a lot of things that we know and love without thinking of it. And then we're going to wrap it up with a sort of like happy hour discussion, and there's going to be pizza involved, and we're going to be part of that one, as is Nate from GK Visual, and I'm very excited for it. Now, this is the, 5th year you guys have done the symposium?
Yeah, 5th year. It's an annual gathering of all things grain, like you said. I got excited and jumped in there. Yeah, grain. It really
Wait
started...
a minute. Wait.
Uh-oh.
Do you remember the first time that we were at Molly Pitcher and Hops Rule? Do you remember that? That's what it reminded me of. And we were audio bombed. Hops Rule.
Yeah, I
Mark
just
and start going, green rules.
can't contain myself. I get all excited and just yell out grain. Yeah. But yeah, it started as a way to just bring people together annually to convene literally in person and talk about opportunities, challenges, educate, network, share products, and really was industry focused for the first couple of years we were doing it. And then as it evolved, have tried to get more consumer engagement. They're a big part of the overall grain and malt supply chain. If people don't want the goods made with grain, all the efforts are in vain. So that's kind of where it started. And we didn't really want this year to go by without getting together, but, obvious public safety constraints have made that difficult for everyone. So I've really leaned into the virtual format, and everything's going to be online this year. We've got 2 full days of content, really cool programming. And I think the one great part about it becoming virtual this year is it's allowed participation from some folks outside the region. We've got Jason Perkins from Allagash up in Maine, who's going to be talking about what they do with local agriculture and some of the commitments they've made to use grain from Maine. We've got people from the West Coast, all up and down the Eastern Seaboard, and then obviously a lot of folks from the Philly area. It is a Philly symposium after all, so and really excited about some of the interactive events, the Ancient Grains tour and beer tasting at the end of day 1, and then the happy hour with you guys at the end of day 2. I think they're going to be really fun end of the day events where hopefully we can talk and taste and kind of reflect on 2 full days of fun stuff.
Very cool.
Now, you mentioned that the 2 days, day 1 is kind of going to be more consumer driven, and day 2 is going to be more of a professional track of discussions and events. And scanning over the agenda, which is sort of fresh in our hands, it's exciting. I love to see all the different food demos that are going to be going on, because I have to say, kind of being forced to stay at home more over the past year, I've been spending a lot more time in the kitchen. So I even noticed that there's a talk on pasta. There's an empanada demonstration, which sounds quite tasty. I know, and the boys are excited that I pronounced that word correctly.
I wasn't even going to say anything.
I often get
and then you
made
rolled
fun
in
of
with a
that.
quite tasty right afterwards.
Yeah,
Quite
proud of
tasty.
you.
It rolls right off the tongue.
Yes.
But and of course we've mentioned pizza, and pizza is going to be involved on both days. But as beer drinkers, and we're a beer podcast, we often praise grain for its significant role in beer. And of course there'll be lots of beer discussion throughout the 2 days. But it's nice to be reminded of the power that grain has in a lot of our favorite foods that we eat as well.
Sure. I mean, everyone thinks about grain and malt and in beer, but I think one of the really cool parts about this event is it's all things grain, and it's beer, it's spirits, it's food, and we bring together some of the producers. There'll be farmers talking about their experiences growing different types of grain, processors, a really cool tour of the historic Castle Valley Mill in Doylestown. And there's a lot of really cool processed grain products that have made their way into the event. Trogs brewed a beer with spelt and spelt malt from Pennsylvania, as well as some baguettes. They actually put bread into a beer. 85 loaves of bread went into the mash at Trogs for this really cool bread infused lager that they're brewing and they're going to release for the event. So yeah, it's not just beer for sure. I mean, we'll be drinking some beer, talking about beer and grain used in beer, but there's definitely a lot of really cool end uses and experts in their field. So
that Trogs beer will be featured during the Ancient Alcohol event at Penn Museum. Can you talk a little bit, give us some more details about that event specifically? And I know that is a separate ticket from the actual symposium as well.
Yeah, the Ancient Alcohol event is something that at the Penn Museum, Philly Loves Beer, and a few other archaeologists and beer experts kind of put together. And they've done this a few different times where they have this live interactive tour where they talk about origins of different types of beer. We're going to put a grain twist on it, hopefully, and have some historical grain references throughout that tour. But really neat interactive event. And it is a separate ticket. All of that will be available through the symposium website. So you can get a ticket that it gives you access to 2 days of symposium programming, a lot of the demos and educational talks that we just mentioned, and panel discussions. And then there'll also be a separate ticket for the ancient alcohol event. So at the end of day one, we'll like hop over to the other channel, and hopefully everyone joins us for the tour through the Penn Museum.
I feel like Penn's done the ancient ales and ancient insert other words for a while. I feel like a couple of years ago, probably like early on in the Beer Busters days, I reported on one of them because Dogfish was involved. I don't know why that's only coming to me now. Interesting. I wish I could remember more details. So this would have been a more interesting comment.
And we can always cut this out.
We could, yeah. Let's all pause now while Dan edits that portion of the interview out.
Well, they have used, I know the tour, and we talked about this today, actually, does include Midas Touch,
right.
One of their beers that was really heavily inspired by some, ancient culture and ingredients and brewing technique. I don't know. They're not making that anymore, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I certainly haven't seen it in a while, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Dana's
so I think that was
no.
one of the concerns, it maybe not be available this year. But I think what they're going to do is lean heavily into style. So if it was a beer inspired by the Romans or, certain regions, they're going to recommend viewers try and get one of those styles to drink at home while they're touring that part of the world, which would be kind of neat. And we're going to try and tie as many local brands and ingredients, hopefully, that are used in those as well. So it'll be fun.
Very cool. That sounds like a really interesting event. I love that kind of like digging into the history of beer and that sort of thing. And I think it's good to mention, we talked about all the things beyond beer that this event encompasses, because I know, we first connected with you, Mark, through Deer Creek Malt House, through the podcast with, you guys providing malt to a lot of local breweries. And everybody listening to us now may not be aware of how much intertwined that whole sort of industry is between, the malt that's used for beer, the malt that's used for distilling, and then you have bread, and you have, all this sort of like archaeological stuff. And it's really cool to see. It's kind of like yeast in that way, where you get into the science of yeast because you love like fermentation and like brewing, and then you realize like, well, that's the same way cheese is made, and that's also how sourdough is made. And so this is a really great event for any of our listeners who are attracted to the beer side of this symposium. There's a lot of really interesting stuff well beyond the world of beer that I think would be really valuable for anybody to take part in.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's something for everyone, and that's always been the goal. Been one of the challenges as well, because it is so diverse. A lot of different stakeholders with different needs. Everyone's bound by the same common thread, grain or malt, but everyone has different needs and different interests. And I think that's reflected in the overall program. Really diverse, a lot of different topics. So hopefully there's something for everyone, including consumers. It's a really big part of who we're trying to engage and bring into this world and meet the maker in a lot of ways. You'll be able to ask questions and talk to, some of these professionals in their field. So.
And I think there's a lot of positive things that come out of doing this event virtually this year. You mentioned being able to have guests from across the nation, but also a lot of these virtual tours, the mill tour, and being able to see demos of people doing things in their space. I think that's really creative to be able to see that. And hopefully, as you move forward, perhaps maybe this could influence how events like this are done in the future. I actually experienced the Extreme Beer Fest this past weekend, and it was completely virtual, and they mailed the beer to our house, and we tasted along with the brewers or owners of the breweries of the beers. And it was exciting when Todd Ahlstrom mentioned, even when it's back in person, it would be really cool to continue to have a virtual component for people that can't get to Boston, or maybe, would prefer to drink at home. And, so I think that even moving forward, as our new normal comes, events like this will continue to evolve and change and open up opportunities and experiences that we didn't even perhaps consider before COVID made us rethink how we do things.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, COVID's rocked everyone's world in different ways. And I think there's going to be a lot of outcomes that forever change how we behave as humans. It's pretty wild. One of the talks, actually, I'm really excited about. Joe Hertrich, formerly of Anheuser-Busch, he thinks about the big picture because of his background working for a large brewer, and he really was paying attention to a lot of the things that were going on over the past year, mostly through the lens of a brewer, because that's his field. But I mean, he's going to talk about all sorts of different things that he saw as a result of COVID and how people have responded. And also excited to talk to some people with you guys. And hopefully, I mean, a lot of the guests will share some of their experiences and how they've creatively responded to the pandemic and what it looks like on the other side. I think that'll be, a really cool part of the overall event too.
Yeah, I'm excited for our happy hour. Our happy hour will be on Tuesday, March 9th, from 5:30 to 6:30. And we will have a panel of guests involved in the malt world, and many of which from the brewing industry. And I think all of the people that we've sort of communicated with over the last year on the podcast have been very open and candid about their experience through all of this, and have come up with quite creative solutions to continue to run their businesses. But I'm also excited for the forward thinking part of these conversations and what the future is going to bring. But our event, which I have to give Wayne credit for the name, because really he came up with it, is three guys.
Hold on, before you give me all the credit, the play on that name was Nate's idea. The specific name was my idea.
Okay,
Just
fair enough.
Credit where it's due. Just saying, the pizza was also his idea.
Wayne, what's the title of the event?
It's oh man, I forget how many guys.
He has to look it up.
It's a number of guys, a girl, and a pizza place. 3 guys, a girl, and a pizza place.
Number
and
guys.
Beer.
And beer.
3. That's the joke. It's a riff off of 2 to 3.
Right,
Yes.
right. So, and if
Yes,
you're,
and that's why 3 is in capital letters.
Yeah. If you're keeping score at home, you will notice that if we're hosting the panel, it's only 2 guys and a girl. Who's the third? Well, our good friend, aforementioned Nate Kresge from GK Visual, will also be joining us for this panel discussion. It was a pretty good segue, I think, to just get his name in there as well. He'll be part of that as well.
Yeah, so we'll, be having some really meaningful conversation, but, by bringing pizza and beer into it. I mean, who doesn't love pizza and beer? And I think that pizza and beer have helped a lot of us get through all of this. But we're going to sip on some Pennsylvania beers, so we'll be really in our element to kind of drink beers and talk about them. We're also going to have a pizza demo. Mark, you kind of hooked us up with an awesome pizza demo that's going to happen. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so a friend and really amazing chef, Jeff Michaud from Philadelphia, has been making pizza for longer than I've been making malt, and he's awesome. So he's gonna join you guys and do a little demo on how he prepares fermented dough before he puts it in the oven. A lot of technique that goes into that. Just one little snapshot of the overall pizza making process, but great guy, knows a ton, and I'm sure he's going to be fun for you guys to talk to.
Yes. Yeah, we're also going to be encouraging participants and viewers to seek out make your own pizza at home kits. A lot of places have them available. We're actually trying to compile a list to put together some links where people can go and buy the supplies ahead of time to make your own pizza at home, and then chomp down along with us while we're doing our panel discussion.
Yeah, so for all the details, you can of course go to beerbusterspodcast.com, because we will post all the information you need, but you can also go to grainandmaltsymposium.com. All the details, the agenda, and all the information for the symposium are on that website. I assume you'll be able to buy tickets right through the website as well.
Yeah, there'll be links to tickets. One will be purchased, like we talked about, through the Penn Museum for the Ancient Alcohol event, and then a separate will be for the rest of the symposium program, the 2 days of demos and lectures and discussions and all the other stuff.
So a 2-day ticket is only $12, which is unreal in my mind. There's so many offerings. Even if you don't have the ability, or you don't want to sit on for the entire 2 days, it's still worth it just to catch a handful of talks or events. There's so many things to
think
choose from.
Any single one of the items on the agenda would be worth $12.
Right.
I mean, really.
No, absolutely, for sure. And when this, as you're listening to this with your fresh, fast ears, tickets are available on the website, so you can go and grab those. We will also provide, there's also linked on the website, if you want more details specifically about the happy hour, you can click on that and you can see places where you can pick up DIY pizza kits, and keep an eye out for some PA beers that we'll recommend that you get your hands on so you can drink along with us during the event.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. So like Steph said, beerbusterspodcast.com. We have links to grain and malt symposium.com, of course. And should anyone out there want to learn more about Deer Creek, Mark, where should they go?
DeerCreekMalt.com. We've got grain and malt for making beer and food and spirits. And we've been making some of our own food and beverages lately too. One of our responses to the pandemic, we're brewing some beer and making some granola and food. You can find us at local farmers markets or order some stuff online. But yeah, we don't just make the malt anymore. We make some food and beverages too.
That's cool. Awesome.
How many farmers markets are you guys in now?
Oh, geez. It's a little slower during the winter. I think the total number is around 12 different markets, 12 or 13.
Wow.
We're still ironing out our schedule for 2021. But yeah, we're out there. We're mostly in the Philly region, a few in Philly and the suburbs.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, we look forward to participating in the event. Keep your ears on the podcast. We're going to be talking about it from now till then, giving out some more details. Keep an eye on our socials. Follow Deer Creek Malt on the socials. We should also mention University of the Sciences is a co-presenter of the event as well, and has done a lot of work over the past several years to make this event happen.
Yeah, for sure. U-Sciences, great partner and co-founder of this symposium. They're hosting virtually this year. They're sponsoring with the Zoom webinar license, so we won't physically be at the University of the Sciences, but they're still hosting virtually. So
and they're
amazing.
A very important contribution to the event.
Yes.
Somebody has to have the Zoom account. Well, very cool. Great to see you, Mark.
Yes,
great
you,
to
Mark.
see you guys too. Thank you so much for being a part of this. I think it's going to be an amazing event. So hopefully everyone joins us.
Awesome. Thank you.
We are very much looking forward to it too. Thank you for your time, and we'll see you then.
All right. Cheers.
So I cannot wait for that event, the Grain and Malt Symposium. Get your tickets while you can. We are going to be part of the happy hour on March 9th. But that brings us to the task at hand. Now, usually we start off with saying what we're drinking. And Steph made a very good point of making sure that we have mostly the same beers. Thank you, Steph, for donating some of your beers to me and Wayne. We are starting beverage-wise, and we'll get into food stuff in a second. We're starting off with a lager because that's what we always do. It's from Stickman. It is the making of a wise guy, and it is delicious.
Yeah, we talked about this, I think last time we had Ethan on the show. From Stickman, it's, of course, a lager. As mentioned, we love to start the show with Liza Pale Lager. Crisp, clean, pretty much straightforward lager, 4.5% alcohol. Very delicious, very easy drinking, and a good way to start the show. But we're talking about what we're drinking, but this is a beer and food pairing episode. So why don't we just discuss a little bit what our plan, such as it is, for the episode is going to be, even though there's not really much of a strict plan. I know on our side here, as Dan mentioned, we have a lot of the same beers that Steph has. We have a couple of other beers. Greg, I know you have your own stash over there.
Yep.
And we've also just gathered sort of things we had that we thought would make cool beer pairings. So, obviously coronavirus makes beer pairing events difficult to do, but you can still do fun stuff like this at home. So I have a box. I actually get this thing called Universal Yums, which is a subscription box that sends you a box full of snacks from around the world once a month, which I thought would be pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so I have a box full of that. I got some chips, I got some cookies, I got some gummy candies, all kinds of cool stuff. And then obviously we have a bunch of beers that we're gonna. I guess what my plan, what I was thinking, is we just kind of like talk about what we each have on hand and kind of talk about what we think would work together. And if some of us have similar things, we can kind of compare notes.
Sure.
That was my plan. Dan has added something to our food side of the equation. I'll let him tell you what that is.
Oh yeah, I like cheese.
Cheese. Cheese.
So we've got a bag full of cheese. Literally, it's a plastic bag full of kinds of cheese that are in. Yeah, hold it up for the camera.
Cheese.
Yeah, it's cheese. You can't go wrong with cheese. So there's a lot of it there. Fancy kinds and not fancy kinds.
All right. Awesome. So here's what I thought. We call it quarantine pairings.
Okay.
Right? Quarantine pairings.
Quarantine pairings.
So but we're all stuck in the house, right? Now, thankfully, things have loosened up a little bit, but we're all stuck in the house. We're quarantined. So the whole idea was, or is, not was, past tense, present tense, what do you got in your house? What do you have in your house? And so let's figure out what's the random stuff you got in your house. And then what do we pair it with? Like, what do we pair it with? Okay. So there's things that go to your pantry, like pull something out, go to this pantry or go to this closet, pull something out. And then what do we drink with it? Right. So that's sort of, I think, what we're going to do. I've got some stuff that I pulled out of my pantry. Wayne and Dan, you've got stuff that you've pulled out. Seth, so do you. And let's talk about pull stuff out of your pantry, quarantine pairings. What do we do with it? Right? That's the goal. Now, let's talk high level for a second. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Please.
All right. So let's talk about pairings in general. Okay, so pairings in general. Now, for anybody that's listened to this podcast with me before, you've heard this stuff. If you haven't, then let's kind of review kind of what are the general rules of what we do. So when it comes to pairings, when it comes to pairing beer with, this is called food or stuff, right? There's a couple basic rules, right? First of all, the one rule is just have fun. There's no right or wrong, right? You can't screw something up, honestly. If you're eating food and you're drinking beer, okay, you're winning, right? You're winning. You can't screw that up, right? So don't worry about what you're pairing together. So we put that aside. Then we say, okay, what are some other basic rules when it comes to pairing beer with food? So I call it the 3 C's, right? When it comes to pairing food with beer, there's 3 C's. There's contrast, right? So pick flavors that kind of contrast each other. There's a catapult, right? Which means take a certain flavor and amplify it, right? Which means, like, let's say that you have a something with orange flavor in it, and you've got a beer that has a citrus or orange flavor. That means you catapult that, so, right? So that catapult is amazing. Amplify it, right? And so that's one thing you can do to think about flavors. All right, now, so we got compare, we got catapult,
contrast,
and complement, right? Complement things. So if there's certain things that go well together that, like peanut butter and jelly. I know it sounds silly, but they complement each other. Same thing with flavors.
I've got peanut butter and jelly I can break out too if we really want to.
You could. You could, right? But at the end of the day, the rule is you can't screw it up. If you're drinking beer and you're eating food, you can't screw it up. Now, may it not taste well together? Sure. But it's not going to be horrible. You're still eating food and drinking beer, right? So just think about those things as you do pairings, that it's okay. Experiment. The best thing about this is just keep an open mind. Just experiment. You can't go wrong.
And I think one of the interesting things to further that point of, like, there's no wrong pairing or wrong way to do a pairing, is that, we often drink beer or other alcoholic beverages with food, and sometimes we pay attention to whether that's, a good pairing. Sometimes we just go to a restaurant when we're allowed to go to restaurants.
Sure.
And just order whatever. But I think the cool thing about having the experience with you, Greg, and doing the tastings is it may be something that isn't like a weird thing to put together. Like I've got potato chips here that I think would go good with this lager. I drink a lager and eat potato chips all the time, but what's cool about going through this process is you're paying attention to it in
Sure.
a way. So you get the mouthgasms where you get those perfect pairings that come together, but even the pairings that don't necessarily evoke a mouthgasm but taste pretty good, it's just thinking about the pairing food and beer, which is something you kind of do anyway. You just don't really think about it. So it's cool to sort of pay attention to what you're tasting.
And honestly, Wayne, to that point, I know Dan talked about a little while ago about that mouthgasm with Mad Elf and Hershey Special Dark. Do you know how that came to be? It was completely random. It was completely random. I was sitting at home one night drinking Mad Elf, and I'm like, okay, there's some chocolate over here. And I popped it in my mouth, and all of a sudden, boom, it happened. Like, it was completely random. So my point being is just experiment and enjoy the flavors of things that happen, because you can't screw it up. You can't go wrong. Again, you're eating food and drinking beer, so it's all good. All right, so what do you think? Should we talk about like what you can grab from your pantry?
Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
So we talked a little bit about the food that we brought out and have on the table here. I don't know, Steph, if you want to talk about some of the items that you guys brought out, because you had some interesting stuff you were saying earlier.
Yeah, so we got out some Thai curry potato chips, some fried pickle potato chips, caramel popcorn with sea salt. Oh yeah, these freaking things.
These friggin' things.
Oh wow, look, the package.
Watermelon craisins.
The package actually says these freaking things.
It does.
Watermelon
Twizzlers,
craisins, huh?
the Lady Gaga Oreos, Chipotle barbecue pistachios,
Whoa, that took a
cinnamon
turn.
churro walnuts, and garlic moon cheese.
Whoa.
Dear goodness, like, okay.
Oh yeah, and well, this I already have planned. Greg's
Sour Patch Kids.
favorite thing
Oh, yeah.
ever, Sour Patch
Oh my God, I
Kids.
love this
But
thing.
I already have a plan in my mind, but I feel like that needs to be later in the episode because I feel like that might take over my palate a little bit.
Yeah.
All right,
Probably.
so let's go back for a second, right? So Steph just rattled off a whole bunch of stuff. So one of the primary rules with pairing is match intensity, right?
I don't understand.
Match intensity, right? So if
I have one intensity level, Greg.
Well, I understand that. So match intensity. So if I've got for example, let's talk about cheese. Dan brought up cheese. So if I've got a super mellow, creamy cheese, right? I don't want to pair that up with a super intense beer, right? So I don't want to take that to a super intense stout or a super uber hoppy IPA. I want to match the intensity. So if the cheese is mellow and calm, I want to pair it up with a mellow and calm beer.
So if we're doing like a progression here of tastings, of pairings, we're essentially going to do that. We should probably start with things that are less intense, foods and beers, and then work our way towards the Sour Patch Kids, the things that are going to be way more intense on our palates, right?
So generally speaking, Steph, yes, right? The best way to go is to go light to heavy. If you've ever done if you've ever done a beer tasting or even a whiskey tasting, right? What do they typically do? You start with light, whether it's a Pilsner or a Saison or something that's light, and you work your way up to more intense beers, right? If you've ever done a whiskey tasting, same difference. I remember I was in Colorado and we went to a Johnny Walker tasting, and they went from the light to mid to high Johnny Walker. It's like, and I'm getting it wrong. I apologize for the Johnny Walker fans. Red, black, blue, and gold, right? There's progressions of Johnny Walker. When you have the first one, at first it seems maybe intense, but then when you work your way up, you come back to the first one, you're like, oh my God, it tastes like water. So that's the best way to go from low intensity to high intensity. But listen, we don't have the wherewithal to do it right the first time. So it's okay if you don't do it that way. All I can say is just match intensities, right? So even if you start with let's say a super dark chocolate, then match it up with an intense dark beer that's going to go with it, right? Or if you have a super spicy potato chip that's got a lot of flavor, then don't match it up with a light beer or a light lager or a pilsner. Match it up with something that equal intensity. So intensity is probably the biggest thing when it comes to pairings that you want to think about, is that you want to match them up together.
Okay. So I pulled out my remaining lagers since I just finished one. I have a Reading Premium. I have the new dark lager that Moo Duck and Poor Man's did together, which is really freaking delicious. And I have the dry hop Pilsner from the new New Trail 12-pack, the mixed 12-pack they did. This is the collaboration with Human Robot. So I feel like these are probably my less intense beers. So maybe, and you mentioned grab the food and then find a beer to pair with it. But I'm almost thinking, and maybe that's because my comfort zone is I know beer more than food, perhaps. Is that wrong to pick the beer and then try to pair a food with it?
So the answer is no, right? Because you can't screw it up. Can't screw it up. So it depends. Do you have more?
He said that. You hear that, right? We can't screw it up.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a way that I can and will.
Do you have more beer? Or do you have more food? So the reason I'm talking about this is because if you're at home and you're listening and you're thinking like, what can I do? Do you have more beer or do you have more food? So it kind of depends.
In my house, it's pretty equal.
Right. But what I want to say is it doesn't matter. Like you can't, again, you can't screw it up. So let's say you've got food that you want to pair with beer. Then you just start like pick a food, like pick a food and say, this is the food I want to kind of work with. Right. So Steph, pick a food.
Okay. So, and I don't know if this actually made it in the last episode, but the last time we recorded with Mad Chef, I got my hands on some Lady Gaga Oreos.
Okay.
And I actually still have a few left. And these are, I don't know, I would describe them kind of as like vanilla Oreos, perhaps. I mean, they're bright pink with like dark green filling. They look amazing, but they're it's a very mild, pleasant vanilla-y flavor. And I'm thinking this might pair nice with a lager.
All right. So let's start there, right? For example, so Steph picked out a particular food. And again, for those that are at home, if you get more food or more beer, just go one way or the other. So start with something. So in this case, we're starting with an Oreo. So Steph picked the Lady Gaga Oreo, which has green filling and a red cookie crisp on the outside. Looks very attractive.
They're pretty.
Right? So start with the food. In this case, we're starting with the food. Right?
Okay.
So I'm going to ask you, just eat the cookie and tell me what you taste. Now, obviously, for the viewers at home, while she's thinking about what it tastes like, we know what an Oreo tastes like, but this is a particular flavor. So what do you got?
Yeah. It's definitely more on the, I don't want to say blander, but it's not as like intense as an Oreo. And it's definitely more on the vanilla side. Like it reminds me of, the cookies that kind of look like Oreos, but you can get them in chocolate or the vanilla color.
Hydrox.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, it's more like the vanilla one.
Okay, so thinking about
is there like a hint of like lemon, or am I crazy? That could just be the artificial.
Wait, Dana from Costco is not allowed to talk. Okay, so anyway, so
she can shake her head yes or no.
So Steph talks about, hey, there's the cookie. So there's a bland cookie, but there's a little bit of a vanilla taste. So what does that tell you? I don't want to pair this with something that's going to overpower that cookie.
Yeah.
Right. I want to pair this with a beer that has a similar sort of moderate, mellow sort of taste to it. So there's a couple of ways you can go. You can go with a lager, which is a malty taste, which might complement that cookie a little bit and let the vanilla accentuate itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or you could take something like a Saison, which might have some spice. It might have some back end vanilla because of the yeast that could complement that flavor, right? But if you go with a brown ale or a stout, it's going to overpower the cookie, right? So again, think about that compare, contrast, catapult kind of concept.
And it's interesting though, because typically when you think of a dessert, you automatically, your brain goes to like porters and stouts. They're usually like the dessert beers. I didn't think of a Saison. I was thinking lager, but more on the like maybe Helles or cream ale side of things, something that has like that corny sweetness to it a little bit.
Absolutely, but I thought that would pair nice. That's a compare thing, right?
Yeah.
So if you go cream ale, that cream ale with a vanilla is going to be fantastic. But if you go with a Saison that has like a little bit of a earthy spice to it, it's going to counteract and contrast that vanilla a little bit. Was going to do the as Dan said before, the 1 + 1 = 3, and boom, we got something awesome.
Okay, so unfortunately, I don't have a cream ale or a saison,
That's all right.
but I do have the dark lager, which will be a little more malty, and then I have the Reading Premium, which is definitely more on the Helles cleaner, slightly sweet side of lagers.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to try these two. So do you want to give us a refresher of how we should do this?
Right. So
I think
again,
it's taste, let it, then sip, then I don't.
So yep, absolutely, Steph. So the first thing you want to do is you want to taste the food or whatever you're eating. So whether it's cookies or bacon or cheese.
Hopefully, whatever you're eating is food.
Well.
Okay. Thanks, Wayne. I appreciate that. But good point. Anyway, taste the food. Get that taste in your mouth by itself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then drink the beer. But before all that taste of the food goes away, then drink the beer and then swish it around, kind of integrate the flavors together.
This is my problem. I swallowed the beer too fast.
It's a swallowing issue.
I was waiting for you to say it.
Sorry, I'm sorry, Dan.
Don't be. At least don't be sorry to me.
I'm doing work. Leave me alone.
Eat whatever food you're eating before all the flavor goes away in your mouth. Swish it back with a beer. And then Dana from Costco, what do you think? I would think she almost spit it out.
Oh, she just flipped you the bird right in the camera, right up in the face.
I mean, it's nice. It makes the cookie taste like a legit sugar cookie out of the oven. I didn't get it until I did it like the third time. It doesn't taste like an artificial cookie anymore.
Well, and to your point though, Steph, when you do tastings like this, honestly, folks, it takes a couple, 2, 3, 4 times to really see what's working. Because the first time you taste it, you maybe had too much beer or you had too much food in your mouth. Mm-hmm. Second time you taste it, maybe you had too much food, too much beer in your mouth. Do it again. Do it a couple times because you need to really feel what's happening.
Feel what's happening.
Feel what's happening. It's all about a mouthgasm.
I'm thinking this pairing that Steph's doing isn't going to result in a mouthgasm. I think it's got like above average marks, but not mouthgasm territory. That's the impression I'm getting from Steph's reactions here.
Yeah. So the dark lager doesn't do too much. Like the dark lager, it's such a good beer. And I don't want a cookie with it. But the Reading Premium, having like a cleaner, lighter, slightly sweet lager goes really nice. And it kind of brings out the sugariness of the cookie. Like the cookie doesn't seem so bland. I mean, it really does taste like a fresh cookie out of the oven.
Interesting.
Yeah. That I wouldn't call it a mouthgasm, but I would say a win.
But you got a 3 out of your 1 + 1. You made the cookie taste.
I
like
did.
That's
a very good point.
One of the
I got the 3.
Yeah, the really cool things about this, even if you don't get the mouthgasm, when you combine 2 flavors and get a flavor that's entirely unrelated, like that's just
it's
cool.
It's definitely interesting.
Even if it's gross, it's cool.
With our flavors combined.
Right. And by the way, just as we talk about this stuff and we talk about pairings, we talk about compare, contrast, catapult, right? And the intensity, salt makes a big difference too. I don't know if we've ever really talked about salt, but salt makes a big difference in everything that we do because salt acts like almost like a piece of sandpaper, and it grabs stuff off your tongue that pulls flavor out and integrates it. So, if you have, we talked about potato chips, right? Potato chips are obviously very super salty. And what's amazing about potato chips is it pulls salt off, or it pulls the flavors out of your tongue and whatever that you're eating and integrates them. It's unbelievable. Like if you're at home and you want to try stuff, try something that's salty. Forget about what beer it is and what food you're eating. But if you have something salty, you will understand how it integrates the flavors, and it's unbelievable.
Interesting.
I'm opening the Thai curry chips.
Well, Dan and I were, while you guys were talking about Steph's pairing experiment over there, Dan and I were silently trying some bio-organic hand-cooked potato chips, cheese and onion potato chips. I think these are from the UK. No, that's a bunch of. I was going to say there's Russian on the back, but it has every language on the back.
I'm sorry, bio-organic what?
It says bio-organic hand-cooked chips, and they are cheese and onion flavored. I actually don't. Oh, here we go. Produced in the Netherlands. So these are from the Netherlands.
Nah, that kind of makes sense.
So we've been doing a little pairing here, sort of silently in the background, between those and the Stickman Lager. And I don't know what Dan's going to say about it because we haven't conferred. We've just been doing it. I don't like it. And I will say that these chips are not at all salty. Like, these are probably some of the least salty potato chips I've ever eaten. So maybe if they were a little saltier, they're also not American potato chips, which might be why they're less salty.
I was just going to say that.
If they were saltier, maybe it'd be different, but it almost tastes grassy to me. I don't know what you got, Dan.
No, I could see it. There's a little more earthiness involved, but to me, it really got more of the onion flavor out. The cheese was like an afterthought, but the onion really came out because it's so pungent. Mm-hmm. So it's like it amplifies it a little more, and there it is. I don't know that... I wouldn't say that I don't like it, but it's not my favorite we've ever done. But it's not like I'll probably never do it again because I don't know if I'll ever eat these chips again, but it's not off-putting.
Yeah, I get like a really earthy, grassy thing, which sometimes can be a nice flavor, but in this case, I'm not particularly enjoying it.
All right, so let's talk about some other stuff that you can possibly pull out of your pantry. Is that fair?
Sure.
When I went down to my pantry, because we're all in quarantine together, there's a couple things that one of the things I pulled out, fishies. Fishies. Goldfish.
I was thinking
Right?
Swedish fish.
Like the Pepperidge Farm.
The Pepperidge Farm cracker goldfish.
Yeah.
Because again, I've got kids in my house and they love goldfish. So
because they're so delicious.
I'm thinking about what are the things in my pantry that I could pull out that you could pair beers with. So I've got cheddar goldfish, right? I think we've all grown up with at one point in time and had goldfish. So what do you guys think you would pair with cheddar goldfish? Yeah, little fishies, the little little fishy things.
See,
we all know what they are.
It's easier for me to like conjure up the taste of like the original goldfish than the cheddar cheese.
That's fine.
I'm trying because what I'm thinking is if that cheddar flavor is particularly strong and sharp, I would venture something hoppy with it.
Well,
you say absolutely incorrect.
No, I didn't say absolutely. I was going to say, Dan or Steph, what do you think?
Goldfish. These Thai chips are freaking delicious. Thai curry chips, by the way.
Nice.
Aldi. I don't know.
Cheddar goldfish.
So if it's cheddar is... I mean, are they using mild cheddar, sharp cheddar?
Yeah, that's kind of like where I was coming.
Let's just call it generic cheddar.
So if it's all right, so you think of like the powdered cheese that they probably used when they did it, which is just a straightforward, no frills cheese. Which, if we're gonna match intensities, I think I would go for a straightforward, no frills beer. I would do some kind of true to style lager, pilsner. Something that is just, it's a beer-flavored beer because this is as close to a cheese-flavored cheese as you can get in a cracker form.
Did you say a beer-flavored beer with a cheese-flavored cheese?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just making sure I heard you.
I'm really trying to prove you wrong that you can mess this up. Oh, and trust me, I've got an idea brewing for later, too, so y'all are warned.
Boy.
Oh, good. No, exactly. So
I don't know. I'm kind of thinking like a dry Irish stout.
Oh, I could see that, yeah.
I would hate, because you're like the podcast guru, I'd hate to tell you you're wrong.
Oh no, but I think it would taste delicious. That like because a dry Irish stout is nice and malty. It's not like totally in your face, but like goldfish have a really strong lingering flavor to them, and I would contrast that completely. I mean, my gut was saying a lager, like I think that makes sense, but I kind of want to try a dry Irish stout with some goldfish, and I think it'd be good. I really wish I had goldfish.
I do too.
Dan, I don't know what just happened. Dan just broke himself. I don't know what just happened.
No, I just almost fucking threw up with how bad that was.
Oh.
Don't do this in the Reading Premium.
Oh,
don't do
I have to now.
Oh my god.
We'll come back to this. You guys were having...
I prove you wrong, Greg.
Let's continue the thought you were.
I'm sorry.
I love to see the video. This is fantastic. Anyway, so to Steph's point, that would probably not be the best option because even though it's a dry Irish stout, it will still overpower that fishy. And the best thing. and
Next
even-
time we're in person, we're trying this. We're doing goldfish.
then write this shit down because we will take care of it and we will prove each other right or wrong. Okay.
Steph, go to the nearest tablecloth and write it down.
But Dan's point
Stories
earlier.
down.
Dan's point earlier was good about how intense the cheese is, right? But with something like this, the milder the cheese, you kind of want either a Pilsner, but the more intense the cheese, you want to go where Wayne was talking about with a more hoppy thing because you want to match intensities. We talked about that earlier. You want to match intensity. And so because they will not fight each other, but complement each other. All right, here's another one. So we talked about fishies. Here's the other thing I pulled out of my I was going to say pantry, but it's not really my pantry. Pepperoni.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
All right.
So we're talking about quarantine pairings, right? And I'm thinking I go through my house. We have nowhere to go. I'm looking at my fridge. And one thing that I always have in my fridge is pepperoni.
100% Czech Pilsner. Super hoppy Czech Pilsner.
I freaking love
100%.
pepperoni. All right. So Steph says Czech Pilsner. What do you guys think?
Oh man.
Dan and Wayne.
So you mentioned salt.
But remember,
earlier.
I eat vegan pepperoni.
Right.
Yeah, it takes
Now
a little
I'm talking pepperoni like literally by itself.
Yeah.
Forget pizza, just
just
by
pepperoni.
itself.
Just the pepperoni. So pepperoni is traditionally a little saltier. It's a cured meat, so it has to be.
Little
It's also
spice to
it's got
it.
a little spice.
little kick.
So if we're looking at intensities, the salt is going to pull out the extra flavor, as you've already
Yep.
said.
Correct.
I think honestly, I would go with a lighter hopped IPA. Nothing that's like blowing out your palate, but just like a standard, like a good West Coast IPA. Could
Okay.
be really good with it because I think the salt's going
All
to
right.
pull out a lot of flavors and amplify
Wayne-
the hops.
Wayne, what do you
I,
think?
I was kind of leaning towards my my colleagues in thinking something hoppy but not super hoppy, like a pilsner or a pale
So
ale or
you are straddling the line.
yeah. I am.
You're not
straddling
making a
that.
decision.
I'm
You
not-
are completely straddling the line.
I'm vocalizing my thought process. That was my initial thought. But I also feel like if I was just because I have bought it's been a while, but I have bought pepperoni and just eaten it like a snack. Like I used to love to do that all the time. And if I imagine myself doing that, I would actually want something a little less intense as a beer. Like a lager, like just a straight up lager. But I don't think it would. I just feel like that would be a nice drink to have with pepperoni, but I don't think it would like bring anything new out of it. So
All
I
right.
think having a light hop character.
All right. So basically, you're.
So I'm basically
waffling.
deflecting the.
You're waffling.
I've
So
I've
I'm
been
gonna
watching
say-
the impeachment proceedings for the last 3 days. I'm being influenced by politicians.
Good Lord.
I'm gonna. And I don't like to do this, but I'm gonna say Dan and Steph are both right.
Oh, all right.
Dan and Steph are both right.
Which kind of means by default Wayne is right too, because he more or less defaulted to
No,
both
no,
of
no,
our
no,
I
answers.
just said I agree with both.
No.
I agree with both of them, but I would
No.
do something different.
No, Dan is not right.
No, Wayne
Nope.
is not right.
I'm sorry, Wayne is not right. Dan, you're right, and Steph is right. There is a sense of a light, hoppy beer to counteract that spiciness of the pepperoni. And then Steph talked about that Imperial Pilsner, or I think this is what you said. And because it's a lighter beer, but there's a slight pepperiness to that beer, they will match up to each other. So you're both right.
New England IPA.
No.
With pepperoni.
All right, here we go. All right, so here's the next one. Let's go with steak.
Oh, red wine.
Doppelbock.
I'm just going to say steak.
Yeah, I think a dark lager.
But there's so many variables to steak, Greg.
Well, steak made
Okay.
properly.
Doppelbock.
So Dan is right. Sorry, Stephen Wayne.
It's fine.
Dan is right. Here's the best part about steak. And the reason we call this the quarantine pairing, I would imagine most people have steak in their house, whether it's fresh or in your freezer, or you have some piece of meat somewhere in your house. And Dan's saying, like, yeah,
Not
no.
here.
I wish. God, do I want a fucking
Yeah,
steak?
well, I know you don't, Steph, because you're not. Yeah. How about Dana from Costco? Does she have steak in her freezer?
That was an emphatic no
All right. Anyway,
for the listeners
So-
at home.
all right. Forget steak. Let's just say meat. Right.
Now
Let's
we're
just say meat. Now, some people, unlike Steph, like meat. So, the best part about meat is, and this is where Dan was going, you could spice it 1,000 different ways.
It's a canvas. It's a blank canvas.
That is the best part about meat. So if you're a meat eater, and there's nothing wrong with people that aren't, but if you're a meat eater, the best part about pairing meat with beer is your pantry and your spice cabinet. So we can call that steak. We can call that popcorn, because we've talked about popcorn before in our podcast, right? But let's keep it on meat. Take meat, take your spice cabinet, and just put spices on your meat. Here's a recommendation, by the way, right? If you're like, okay, I don't want to make a full filet mignon, or I don't want to make a full New York strip, so here's what I encourage you to do: cut it into slivers, right? Little small slivers, and then spice each one differently. And I'm talking little slivers, like half inch thickness. Cut it down, and then spice each one differently. Now, remember, anytime you cook protein, especially meat, you want to salt it like a lot, because salt makes the difference in meat. So let's take that off to the side. So you salt it, right? Go to your spice cabinet. Take paprika. Take garlic. Take any spice you want in your spice cabinet, and then put it on your meat. So you can have one steak, cut it into 10 slivers, and then you can actually spice each one differently. Okay? You can have your own beer pairing by yourself with one piece of steak, right? So again, make sure you salt everything first, and then you spice each one. Again, whatever spice that you want, whatever spice that you like. And then drink your beer. Know what your beer, again, go compare, contrast, and complement, or in catapult. And then think about, what can I do that's going to complement this beer that I have? And it is amazing, with your own spice cabinet, you can do all sorts of stuff with a piece of steak.
All right, so I have a question that I was going to lie and say is on behalf of a friend, but it's really just for me. We've traditionally paired beer with foods that are mostly one flavor profile. But what about something like, and neither of you are allowed to say anything, what about something like a hot chicken sandwich? But I thought about that first as a joke, but then I kind of like, it became more intriguing to me, because there are so many different flavors that are on, not even just this, a sandwich. You have your meat, you have, lettuce, onions, pickles, some kind of condiment on it. The bun can be different. Like, if there's a variety of flavors involved, do you go with the one that stands out the most, or do you go with something that complements everything together?
All right, so you said there's a condom on the sandwich?
Condiment.
Oh,
not condom mint, but condiment.
A mint flavored prophylactic.
Oh God. Oh God.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
I don't blame you. I would have done the same thing.
All right, so the general answer to your question, Dan, is what's the overall flavor?
So
what's the overall flavor? Because pickles, onions, or not onions, or maybe onions, but the chicken, the spice, all that kind of stuff, the bun. But you've got to think about, what's the overall flavor concept of what you're eating.
Okay.
And that's what you want to pair with. Because I can't say, okay, you've got to put into this pickle, or put in this onion, or put in this flavor. What's the overall mouthfeel, right? What do you get, generally speaking, from that food, or from that sandwich, or from that whatever? Sandwich is a great example, right? Because but you got to put it all together.
Okay. So
I would argue that hot chicken sandwich at this point is a flavor unto itself.
Well, yeah, because it traditionally has the same ingredients. But even if you look at like a different kind of sandwich, like tuna sandwich.
What I think, like the point you're getting at, is like, it's one thing to pair beer with like a single snack, but it's another thing to pair beer with a dish, which constitutes a number
Absolutely.
of ingredients, which is kind of about like what I was talking about earlier. Like you drink beer with food all the time. It's just you don't usually think about it that closely. So I think like, the point I would say like if this were another one of Greg's infamous pop quizzes, my answer would have been similar in that you need to figure out what the most dominant flavor is.
I've usually gone with some kind of like honestly like Reading Premium's usually just like what I have available in my
Which, by the
fridge.
way, I didn't think was so bad with these chips.
Oh God, I wanted to die.
Yeah, the pairing that Dan almost killed himself doing earlier was Reading Premium with these same chips we had, and I just tried it and I thought it was okay.
The chips are good, and Reading Premium is absolutely one of my favorite beers. But together, they just did not work for me. It was just
So
like
you got
sour.
a 1 + 1 = 3, but it was a 1 + 1 = -3.
Yep.
All right, let's go with another example, right?
Okay.
And I know we've talked about this in prior podcasts, but if we're talking about quarantine pairings, this is something that almost everybody can do, and it's popcorn.
Yeah.
Okay. So most people have popcorn in their house, whether it's a microwave popcorn or you've got the standard kernels and you put them in your microwave or you're on the stovetop, whatever. But most people can make popcorn. In my opinion, this is the best way to do pairings because popcorn is a flavorless entity. Go to your spice cabinet, right? Go to your spice cabinet and grab whatever you want. What do you like, right? And then take it over your popcorn. And here's my recommendation. You get one of those spray bottles, right? Get a spray bottle of like what you would put water or whatever in, and you put olive oil or I prefer to use avocado oil. Put it in your spray bottle. Make air pop popcorn or microwave popcorn or stove popcorn, whatever it is. Spray some avocado oil on it, and then put whatever spice you want on top. Right? And that is the best way to experiment with flavor pairings, right? So you could put a paprika flavor on it. You could put a white pepper flavor on it. You could put a garlic flavor on it. You could put barbecue flavor on it. You could put a sriracha flavor on it. The best part about popcorn is it's a flavorless vehicle to put spice in, and that allows you to experiment with what works with what. It is fun, and you can't go wrong. Like I said, there's beer, there's food, and at the end of the day, you can't go wrong.
I actually am going to do something like this soon. I wasn't going to do it as a beer pairing, but now I will. I'm going to do more like not microwave popcorn, like raw kernels in some kind of oil, and then you have a very short window after the popcorn pops in which the seasoning will stick to it. So I'm going to play around. Like garlic is one thing I want to do. Garlic, maybe a little bit of salt, and like a tiny bit of pepper, I think would work out really well in it.
The other cool thing is, I'll tell you one thing that I've been impressed by is white pepper. It's one of those things that I've never been exposed to, and I got exposed to it recently. White pepper is amazing. It's a crazy flavor. It's not as pungent and not as strong as black pepper, but it's subtle and it's nice if you pair it with a curry, you pair it with a garlic, you pair it with a paprika. It's unbelievable. But if you're going to do something with popcorn, make sure you have the adequate amount of salt because you need that salt to pull those flavors together and integrate them together.
I really wish I had that egg popcorn.
I kind of do too.
My last Yums box had an egg flavored popcorn from I forget what country, somewhere in Asia. That was interesting enough that I didn't finish the bag, and I thought I still had it, but I apparently threw it out because I can't find it.
What does Dana from Costco think?
We are pairing these Chipotle barbecue pistachios, which are not as strong in flavor as I was hoping they would be, but they actually go really well with the Dunkel from Mood Duck and Poor Man's. Literally everything is just pairing with this Dunkel. I tried it with the dry hot pills from New Trail, and it didn't. I mean, they tasted well together, but it didn't really do anything. But the Dunkel sort of brings out the smokiness of the barbecue and the Chipotles to me. Yeah.
What other goodies do you have in there?
Yeah, I was going to say I'm giving up on these chips. The rest of what I have, that's really the only savory thing I have. I have sour candies, which we have plans for. I've got Stroop waffles, which are some of the most amazing.
I have reserves of Stroop waffles upstairs.
Things.
I like those.
It's 1.5 because I did eat half of one already. So I'm
What
trying to
about
think.
the moon cheese? What should I pair with the garlicky moon cheese?
I've had those before. Those are good.
What do you think, Greg?
Oh, those are good.
I'm just taking over. I'm not letting Wayne or Dan pair anything.
It's okay. I'm just eating
Not
chips
what
and
I was
drinking beer.
expecting.
What is? It looks like a marshmallow.
Is it just like a freeze-dried curd?
Oh, is that what it is?
What does Danny from Costco think?
You are determined.
She approves.
Sorry.
I mean, it's cheese.
I mean, it's cheese.
All right, so here's the thing. What else?
They're not very flavor. Nothing I have is super. I'm just gonna drink lagers with all of it.
All right, so think about your pantry. What else would you have?
Well, we did chips. We did popcorn. I mean, pretzels. I know we've traditionally used pretzels as a palate cleanser when we've done episodes with you. So
yes, we have.
Candy.
I don't know. Yeah, various kinds of candy.
I got peanut M&Ms upstairs.
I mean, chocolate you can't go wrong with.
Onions.
I mean,
There's
I would
onions
say
in my pantry.
I would say chocolate. You know, when that was like your initial focus back when we first met you and started doing these, is there's so many different kinds of chocolate, and they're not hard. It's not like one of those things that's like you've brought us chocolates that like I'd never heard of before that might be like hard to get your hands on, but it's not hard to find a bunch of different kinds of chocolate, and a lot of people probably do have different kinds of chocolate candies, and I just feel like chocolate's so varied that it's just really easy to do a bunch of fun.
Well, sure, it's just like potato chips, right,
Yeah.
Wayne? So I'll go back to what we said before. It's about intensity, right? So if we go back to, for those that don't know, I started craft tastings on beer and chocolate, and that's where I started my engagement with you guys on Beer Busters with beer and chocolate. So same thing, it's about intensity. So if we're talking about chocolate, if you have a dark chocolate which has a very bitter taste to it, then don't pair it up with a light lager or a pilsner. Match it up with the same intensity beer. On the flip side, if you've got a chocolate that's very low-key, mellow milk chocolate, you know, just easy on the palate, don't pair it up with the imperial stout because the stout's going to overpower the chocolate. Pair it up with a very light saison or lager that's going to complement the flavors together, right? So same thing with chocolate is anything in food. Just think about the intensity. It's all about the intensity, and make sure you match that up. When you match that up, then you think about the compare, contrast, or catapult.
That makes sense. Steph just had something go wrong over there. To our listeners at home, there's a lot of sour faces.
These are freaking gross.
And water chugging going on. I'm just curious.
I won't say what they are, but
damage
I'll hold
report.
them up. They literally taste like they're burnt fire.
Really?
Smoky. They're gross.
Based on that packaging, I would imagine that would be pretty good.
No.
Huh.
Ugh. That's an intense flavor, but
This
not the
is-
kind of intense flavor I was looking for.
A perfect vindication of your process, Greg, in that you try a bit of the food first before you dive right into the pairing.
Absolutely.
Because if the food is disgusting to begin with, there's no need to proceed.
Yeah. If the food sucks, don't pair it with a chocolate. Just
don't,
stop.
yeah.
Just stop right away.
I
We
do want
need the
to.
beer to cleanse our palates.
Yeah, I do want to interject real quick because I have ventured into a new tasting, and I think Dan's joining me. A little bit of a stroopwafel, still with the Reading Premium that I'm working on, and I'm really digging this one.
Really? I'm not a fan.
Yeah, no, I like this one. What I don't like is the crumbs it's getting all over.
Yeah. I think we should save some stroopwafel for probably the dark lager.
Hey guys, another thing that I've looked at in my pantry is, like, I don't know about you, but I shop at Costco all the time. Who shops at Costco?
I've never been there.
Seriously?
Dude, I just saw you there last week.
I see you're okay. This is the shit that has to get edited out because you're fucking shit up. I was on a roll, and you fuck it up. Fuck you.
No,
you
it's
fucker.
totally staying in.
No, fuck you, you
100%.
fucker.
100%.
Fuck you, you fucker. And by the way, yes,
You
we saw each other at Costco. And we air hugged. It was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
But many
You only had to
Americans.
scream my name like 4 times before I realized someone was calling my name.
well, we got masks on. You can't tell anything. Like, it's hard. Anyway,
It is hard.
so if you ever shop at Costco, which I do all the time, like it's a Costco is a necessary evil, right? I've got stuff that I buy for my household because I got a wife and kids, but then there's those things that you always buy that you don't need, right? And one of those things that I bought recently, and I looked in my pantry, Parmesan crisps. They are these little square things.
We
About
do
I'm
have
gonna
those.
say an inch and a half by an inch and a half Parmesan crisps, and they are amazing, right?
Don't they
So,
make the pepper jack ones too and sell those at Costco?
They might, but
I'm pretty
the
sure
one-
we got pepper jack ones there.
the ones that I have are not pepper jack. They're just Parmesan crisps, and they're about maybe a quarter-inch thick by an inch and a half wide each way. So, Parmesan crisp. What would you think you would pair with that if you're in quarantine and you want to have a beer with that Parmesan crisp?
Parmesan.
Well, I was eating these Parmesan moon cheese cubes.
Yeah, but they taste like shit.
No, they're actually pretty good. Not as I will agree the crisps are better, but these are pretty good. But they were actually going really well with the dunkel. So that's my real life answer.
And by the way, I just love the word dunkel.
That's
Hey,
a cool word.
All right, Waiter Dan, Parmesan crisp from Costco. Hard, fast things that you get. What would you pair with it?
Parmesan.
It go well with the saison.
I was
too.
just gonna say saison, a nice dry, slightly peppery saison.
dry peppery
Yeah,
saison.
yeah.
Bingo.
Ooh, I got one right.
Hey,
Bingo. Absolutely bingo, right?
It has to be like a Belgian farmhouse, like straightforward, clean, peppery, like none
Crisp
of that
and dry.
bullshit in your saison.
So
saison.
sort of cut the creamy, oily cheesiness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely bingo, right? That's a perfect way to pair with that because Parmesan cheese is pungent, but it's not pungent, right? So there's a little bit of a bite to it, but it's not overly bitey like a super cheddar, right? So that Belgian farmhouse sort of spicy saison would be great with that.
I
All right.
didn't know this was going to be a podcast of quizzes.
Well, that's the
okay
way it
with that.
works.
I should have studied.
I know,
I haven't
right?
read Garrett Oliver's book in a long time.
do have.
Okay. All right. So what else in your pantry do you have?
Well, we got to the subject of cheese. I have a question. I actually jotted down earlier that I wanted to bring up.
Okay.
We were talking about something pairing with an IPA. Have you ever done a pairing with a creamy cheese, not super sharp, with a hoppy but like clean and dry IPA? Because that sounds like they wouldn't work.
Yes. What's the kind of cheese again?
We're talking
What's
about
the
like
kind
a
of cheese?
creamy, not very sharp,
Cheese.
not very
Like a
pungent,
brie?
like a brie, or even I don't want to say the Parmesan because the Parmesan is pretty pungent, but
And not creamy at all.
not creamy.
Let's go brie. Let's go brie.
Or like a mozzarella, or like now
Fair.
mozzarella doesn't have a ton of flavor. I'm just
None.
curious, would that hop character do something with like the creaminess
Yes.
in the way that would be good?
Yes. If we're talking about a brie, something like that, like a very mellow, mild flavored cheese, the hops would overpower it in a snap. Right? In a snap. Now, if you go more mellow Pilsner, like I'm going to say a Pilsner with a mild hop to it, it might work. But you got to be careful because with that mellow cheese, again, let's talk about intensity. It's all about intensity. So if the cheese has not a lot of flavor to it, like brie is delicious, but there's not a lot of distinguishing flavors to it. Even if you put a Pilsner with a hop to it, that hop can completely overtake that cheese, right? So comes back to, like I said before, the intensity.
Yeah.
So I would say just it's got to be lagerish or Pilsnerish or something that just
Right.
does not compete with that flavor or overpower the flavor, should I
Right.
say.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking we were talking about. I guess we were talking about cheddar and complementing like a sharp cheddar with an IPA.
Now,
And I was just curious, like the other
Hold
side
on,
of
Wayne.
the
Though,
cheese
Wayne, though,
equation.
if you say a sharp cheddar, that's different, right?
Right? Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
If it's a super sharp cheddar,
Mhm.
what do you think pairs with that sharp cheddar? A nice hop,
Right. Yeah.
right? So if you have what I personally love, a cheddar that literally cuts my mouth.
Mhm.
I love those sharp cheddars that are like almost like shards of glass in your mouth. That's what I personally love. What's going to stand up to that is a super hop,
Right.
right? So one of the best cheese and beer pairings I've ever done was Hop Devil. If ever, back in the day, Hop Devil, in my opinion, was one of the first original hoppy beers in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it was before Nugget Nectar from Trogs, by the way.
Yes, it was.
Hop
that's what
Devil
I'm
was one of
pulling
the
out right now.
original hoppy, in your
might
face
go well with this.
beers ever. And I grew up where my buddy from college lived 2 blocks from Victory. It was unbelievable. Anyway, so Hop Devil, one of my first favorite hoppy beers. So you take that hoppiness from the Hop Devil with a bite from a cheddar. Perfect. That's a complementary thing that we talked about earlier, right? That's a complementary thing. They both have bitiness to it, and it's like walking hand in hand down a beach. Like they're both they're there. It's
Just
awesome. It's
Piles
beautiful.
of glass shards, hand in hand,
Piles of glass shards, hand in
leaving a
hand.
trail
Beautiful.
of blood down the beach.
Absolutely.
No, my thought was you were talking touching on some of those points earlier, and I was thinking like, could you add sharpness to a not sharp cheese by pairing it with a hoppy beer? But you're probably right. I think the hops would just overpower, and it would.
No, that's a good question though, right? But what would happen is it's going to overpower the other one.
Right.
That comes back to the intensity thing, right? One will overpower the other, and that again, you can't go wrong.
You're still having cheese and beer.
You can't get in trouble. You got
Can't get in
beer,
trouble.
you got food. It's all good.
Wait, something is happening.
Oh, okay. I just had a good one I
I'm
wanted to
doing
report on.
the Parmesan with Nugget Nectar.
Oh, okay.
Oh wow.
Okay. I could see that.
And that should be lovely.
Should be. It depends on the quality of those moon chips or whatever they are.
This is my problem, though. You get that 3, and sometimes it's really freaking hard to describe.
Yeah.
That's what my wife says about me.
Ha.
Sorry.
I went back to the Stroop waffles because they're one of the best foods that has ever been created.
Stroop
And,
waffles are unbelievable.
They're the best.
All right.
And I've paired it with the collab Poor Man's Moo Duck Spin the Boot Dunkel.
All right.
And I'm digging
So-
it. Toasted marshmallow. Very nice.
Spin the boot.
Not to take away from Steph, but let's go to the Stroop waffle for a second, right?
Okay.
What is a Stroop
That's
waffle?
fine.
A Stroop waffle is a round, let's say 3.5-inch round pastry. And what's the flavor profile of a Stroop waffle? It's pastry, it's cinnamon. What else you got?
There's caramel. Well, there's always caramel in the middle. Well, not always. I've
Yep.
seen honey ones, but traditionally there's caramel in the middle. And then the pastries are like waffle, hence the waffle in the name. So there is like a bit of a not a char, but you know what I mean, like a darker pastry taste
Okay.
than you might think of. It's not like a light and fluffy pastry. It's a waffle, and it's a bit darker than you would think a normal waffle,
All right.
and it's also very thin.
So for those online that have not heard about a Stroopy, we call it Stroopy. It's about 3.5-inch round square. That's kind of funny. 3.5-inch round,
rounds.
and they're about a half-inch thick. And in the middle, it's like 2 pieces, and then in the middle there's this caramely goodness, and there's a cinnamon taste to it, and you eat it, and it's amazing. So, Wayne, what would you pair with it?
Well, I just paired a dunkel with it, and having done that, I would do it again.
Conclusion: Dunkels pair with everything.
I really do. And like I said, it gives it a toasted marshmallow taste that I know
Love
I've
it.
gotten it with
Perfect.
pairings that we've done with you before. Is sometimes you get, when you combine something sweet or something caramel especially, with a maltier lager or that side of the beer styles, you often get that toasted marshmallow type character. And I got that here as well. And it was really good. So my first thought with a stroopwafel would be a darker lager, and doing it with this dunkel was the way to go.
I like that because Dunkel has a subtle. There is a subtle. I won't say spice because it's not the right word, but there's a subtle spice to a Dunkel that's different than other lagers, and I think that pairs well with that cinnamon because it mellows the cinnamon, right? Doesn't take it away, but it mellows the cinnamon that makes those flavors go together.
Do it.
What about like a nut brown ale?
That would be good.
Yeah,
I have, but I didn't give to you. I feel like I have some Sam Smith nut brown ale, and I feel like that would go really well with your stroopwafel, but I don't have your stroopwafel.
Yeah, it won't work.
It traditionally would go well, right? Because the brown ale, the maltiness fits in with the caramel and the pastry of that. As long as the brown ale is not too powerful to overcome, which it shouldn't with the cinnamon.
Maybe we do have some caramel popcorn though.
Oh, there you go.
With sea salt because that amplifies the flavor. I learned.
Perfect.
Oh, we do have a bottle opener here somewhere.
While you guys are figuring that out, I moved on to whatever the fuck these things are. Gemendi chocolates. They are mini spiced cookies with chocolatey coating and naturally flavored. But that with this Dunkel, holy fuck, that did it for me.
So this obviously,
Really?
talking about quarantine pairings, I don't imagine a lot of people listening have these in their pantries. They are from the Netherlands again, I believe. They're called Kruidnoten. Apparently, this is a pretty popular and traditional thing over in that part of the world. But yeah, it's like a spiced cookie, almost like a gingerbread cookie.
Gingerbread, like with extra cinnamon
coated with chocolate. But there's dark chocolate, milk chocolate, and white chocolate. I probably ate all the white chocolates because I love white chocolate. But
white chocolate's great.
But yeah, so that's the flavor of this snack because I know most people listening would have no idea what these are. But they also go very well with the Dunkel.
Yeah. Yeah, the cinnamon is amplified a little bit, but it also brings out the sweetness of the beer.
That's nice.
Oh, it's so good.
Has anyone ever brewed a cinnamon Dunkel? I feel like
that would be nice.
Just realized that would be really good, and you wouldn't really think about it.
Cinnamon Dunkel.
Let's call our boys at Poor Man's.
Yeah, right.
Poor Man's. If you're listening, we need you.
He probably is.
Yeah.
Hi, Ryan.
But yeah, because
Ryan, your beer pairs with everything.
Yeah, that
it's the perfect food eating beer.
But having eaten these cookies, like the lingering aftertaste is very much cinnamon, and as I go back to the Dunkel, it complements really well. Okay. I think a cinnamon Dunkel is a good idea. I'm sure somebody's done it, but I haven't seen one.
Have they?
I mean, somebody's done everything.
You never know.
What is Dana from Costco doing?
She was getting the bottle opener so I could open the Sam Smith.
She is the snack steward.
Oh, Dana. Oh, Dana. Oh, Dana.
She's like, I'm never doing this again.
I love you, Dana.
She's like, I'll bet. Okay. What are you eating now, Steph?
I'm trying to do caramel popcorn with the nut brown ale.
Okay.
All right. So Wayne, Dan, and Steph, we're in quarantine, right? We're in quarantine. Get nothing else to do. What else should we think about pairing with? Like, what do we pull out of the closet, pull out of the pantry? What do we do?
I have a crazy idea.
Oh, shit.
What about cereal?
Oh, no way.
Cereal.
Cheerios, Apple Jacks, Lucky Charms, Cocoa Puffs. I mean, it's a whole world of flavors.
Fruity Pebbles.
Fruity Pebbles.
I love it. All right. So, pick a cereal. Wayne, pick a cereal.
Fruity Pebbles.
All right. Fruity Pebbles. Okay, so think about Fruity Pebbles. That's crazy. Right? Lots of sugar. What do you think would pair with that?
Well, now here, this has been done.
Steph, Wayne, Dan, what do you think? What do you pair with that?
I don't want to say it.
Well, no, I'm thinking it's been done though. Like, I mean, there's been beers with Fruity Pebbles. We've had them.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember, like, I know that Hazy's obviously is popular, but wasn't there another one? I thought there was one that wasn't a hazy IPA.
Was Fruity Pebbles? I don't. The other common cereal style is the pastry stout, but I don't think Fruity Pebbles would pair up with that any roasty, malty flavors. It definitely has to be more, maybe like a cream ale.
Yeah.
I definitely has to. When you're talking cereal, you almost want something that has lactose in it or something that has that milky, that slick, milky feel.
Yeah.
So
I think. I mean, as much as it's not my style to go to, a milkshake IPA makes sense to pair with a fruity cereal.
it does.
Definitely. Or another hazy style.
Steph is right. You want something that has that milky creaminess to it that goes with it, because otherwise it's going to overpower everything else, right? And you will taste nothing. So you've got to go that almost the middle of the road creaminess. So that's good.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch has been in a beer. Lucky Charms have been in a beer.
Toast Crunch. Making out the sugar, making out the bunch of the homemade tasted cinnamon toast.
Wait, is there a whole song? I didn't know that.
Oh, there's a song.
Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
Oh, apparently you've sung
Yeah,
it to
it's
us
on
before.
our soundboard.
Yep.
By the way, I'm old, so whatever. All right.
Is there a cereal out there that is like super strong flavored or something that's unique and different from all other
it's
cereals?
all like grains and nuts for adults and like sugar for kids.
Yeah, I'm trying
Basically.
to think. Well, like Apple Jacks is actually something that's kind of unique.
I'm with you, Steph. How about
Kaouki Crisp.
Oh, I used to love those.
do you want to go like flavorful or non-flavorful?
What about
Well, I'm
Trix?
just trying to think of something that has an intense flavor that's not just sugar.
Like a cereal that has a very unique, very prominent flavor.
All cereal is sugar. Like
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. They're all the same. And you're right. They're either all like old people, no flavor cereals,
like Kix or
or it's just
grape nuts.
sugar.
Yeah, I was gonna say grape nuts,
grape nuts. That's funny.
Special K.
Special
Fucking
K.
grape nuts. That's what my dad ate all the time. Grape nuts.
Grape Nuts is an
Fucking
old
Grape
person's
Nuts.
cereal.
Grape nuts.
We're all
tastes
old
good.
people now.
Yeah.
Grape nuts tastes good if you put like a gallon of sugar on it.
People eat that hot too. That's one of those cereals that
Ew.
like you can do either way, right?
Really?
Wait, what?
That's disgusting.
You make them hot. The thing is, like, I think
Wait.
I could be talking out my ass here, but I think that the concept of like eating hot cereal that's not oatmeal used to be like a thing people did all the time. And like Grape Nuts was a cereal you could eat cold or you could pop it in the microwave and eat it hot, kind of like oatmeal. And that used to be
Really?
a thing that people did.
Back in the day when they had microwaves.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, totally.
Microwaves were invented in like the 50s. Like they've been around for a while.
That's true. There was an episode of Futurama about that.
I didn't know grape nuts were warm. Like, oh wow, okay.
You know what else is warm? D's nuts.
My cock.
Oh man.
Sorry.
You
Sorry. You open it up.
grape nuts.
Wow. Did not see
I'm
that
sorry.
coming.
You open it up. Oh, sorry. Damn, I'm
Don't
sorry.
apologize. I
Oh
just-
yeah.
All right.
All right.
We haven't come up with
When
any...
you Google "can you eat grape nuts," the first thing is "can you eat grape nuts on a keto diet?"
Oh boy.
That's our world.
Oh,
But
the
yeah,
answer is
apparently
no.
eating them hot is a thing.
No.
I've been vindicated by the internet.
I fact checked you.
Doesn't happen often.
Vindicated.
So, all right, let's declare cereal dead to me. I don't want to hear about it anymore. Let's move on to another pantry item. I like this game. What's
I have a lot of avocados in my pantry.
I'm not surprised.
avocados? That's actually avocado toast
I like avocado toast. I like just eating avocado.
for the millennials.
I like guacamole.
Guacamole.
See, the thing is, avocado by itself doesn't have a strong flavor. It's very delicate. It's very. It's
So
like that-
saison.
Yeah, exactly. It's like that buttery undercurrent. But like a guacamole or like an avocado toast with like, I know avocado toast, haha, it's funny, it's a joke, we're all millennials, but it's actually really good. And a little salt, little pepper, maybe some red onions and tomato. That again, we're talking about a sandwich, but saison. Dan's giving me a look.
There's way
All
too
right.
much happening there.
What?
There is. All right. Let me call a timeout. What else in your pantry do you have?
This is
What's
like
in your pantry?
Jumanji when it's the character in the game that just keeps repeating the same thing.
So, all
What
right.
do you call those characters?
NPCs.
Yeah, Greg is an NPC right now.
NPC.
I tend to keep cashews on hand.
Okay.
Get a little nuttiness in there. You prepare them the right way. They could be creamed.
All right, that's nice because most people have nuts in their house. Okay. By the way, this is a nice pause. Everybody has nuts. Sorry, Dana from Costco, because everybody has nuts in the house. And I buy my nuts
Unless
from
they're
Costco.
allergic, then they probably don't. But a lot of people do often have nuts around.
But you know what's funny is Dana looks embarrassed when I call her Dana from Costco. I love you, Dana.
From Costco.
Dana from Costco. It's nice. Give me a little wave, Dana. Hi.
Oh my God.
All right.
My God.
Anyway.
So my thought is any beer goes with nuts.
To an extent, but different nuts have different flavors.
Right? Like, so where's the nuance, Greg? Tell us the nuance.
Well, here's the nuance. The nuance is like popcorn, right? Take spices from your spice cabinet and add a little oil to your nuts or to your popcorn. Put the spices on it and then experiment. It is so easy and so fun. Like, truly. Like, I don't know about you, but I have a spice cabinet that does it this long. I have so many spices. So the best part about popcorn or nuts, especially with the cashew,
It's a
or
veritable
peanut,
spice world.
right? Whether it's cashews or peanuts or almonds, just spray some oil on it, avocado oil, whatever it is, and then just sprinkle some spice on it, and then try it with your beer.
People of the world, spice up your life.
Spice up your nuts
All around the world.
and eat them with beer.
Spice up your nuts.
We're going to make a game time decision
Okay.
Yes.
that we should transition to the game.
Cheers, Internet, and welcome to Happy Fun Time Games, the podcast trivia segment that does its best work on a pool table. Joining us today on Beer Busters is our good friend, Greg Orth, owner of the beer and food pairing company, Craft
Hi, guys.
Tastings. Hi, Greg. Thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
He will be competing against my co-hosts, Dan and Steph, for the completely meaningless title of Happy Fun Time Victor. And our game today in Happy Fun Time is There's Weird in My Beer.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, so if you don't know, in this game, I will tell you about beers that have unusual or strange ingredients, and you will have 3 multiple choice options to guess what the weird is in each beer. Now, since today we are celebrating 1 + 1 = 3 and mouthgasms, unlike traditionally in this game, none of the beers that we're going to talk about are particularly offensive. There's no testicles, there's no eyeballs, there's no snot in any of these beers. Some of them sound like they might actually be pretty good. So this is a pleasant version of this game today to give everyone a break from the usual disgusting stuff that we talk about. So let's begin as we always do. To my left with our first beer of the game, Dan. First up, we have a porter from an Australian brewery that was made to satisfy a certain craving while maintaining dietary constraints. Through the use of a particular malt and something from the cupboard, this beer is designed to emulate: is it gluten-free pancakes, vegan steak, or eggplant parmesan?
Okay. I disagree with all of these.
That's not the question.
However, I don't think C makes sense. So I'm going to go with, what were A and B? I'm sorry.
A was gluten-free pancakes, and B was vegan steak.
I'm going to go with vegan steak. I want to be wrong, but that just sounds right for some stupid reason.
All right, Dan is saying B, vegan steak. Steph, what do you think?
I have made vegan meats from scratch. I'm saying A.
Okay. You are saying gluten-free pancakes?
Yes.
Okay, say gluten-free pancakes. Finally, Greg.
You know what? It's crazy to sound. I'm going to say A.
Gonna say gluten-free pancakes as well?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, Greg and Steph both saying pancakes. Dan saying steak. Dan is correct.
Hey, I didn't want to be.
Vegan steak. Now, hear
What
me out.
malt?
Hear
It
me
has
out.
to be a smoked
Also,
malt. then.
if it's a gluten-free pancake beer, they'd probably use like sorghum or some shit.
I did say a particular malt.
You did.
there are gluten-free grains.
Yeah, it's just
That's an oxymoron.
They didn't use them. Yeah, they didn't.
You
use
know
them
what
in,
I mean.
They didn't use them in this beer though. This beer is called Pepper Steak Porter, a vegan beer experience, and it's quote the ultimate ode to meat lovers. It's made with cherry wood smoked malt and black peppercorns. The brewer says that it is quote an extreme beer experience that is 100% vegan. So there you go. It's actually not very complicated, but the idea was to make it taste like steak without actually containing steak. It was made by a brewery called Brew Cult in Australia, which our audience may remember, and Dan and Steph. They appeared last time we played There's Weird in My Beer with a beer called Acid Freaks, which was the balsamic vinegar Baltic Porter.
Oh,
I do remember that because that was terrifying.
Yes, this was the... I actually would like to try that beer. It sounds interesting.
No,
But-
yeah, I'd rather the balsamic.
Yeah, balsamic
Porter sounds really good.
That does actually sound like it could be good. Both of that beer and this one were brewed for the same tongue-twistingly named beer festival, the Great Australasian Beer Spectacular. So there you go.
Yeah, I remember emphatically booing that.
Yeah. So this was from the same brewery for that same festival. And as Steph likes to say, you know, a vegan can get their bacon fix with a Rausch beer. Now you can get your meat fix or your steak fix with this one.
So you add peppercorns to a Rausch beer and it magically becomes steak.
Yes, that's what. Well, no, it's cherry wood smoked specifically. Cherry wood smoked malt.
Well, there's a lot of Rausch beers that use that.
I'm sure there are, but Rausch beers in general just use smoked malt. They pick a particular smoked malt to emulate.
Because
steak.
it makes it steaky.
Yeah. I don't know why I'm arguing for their side. I don't really
Sticky
care.
or sticky?
Both.
Both.
Oh, keep that in mind. That's going to come up later. But for now,
Oh, dear.
we're moving on.
Wait. Sticky or steaky?
Were you asking, or you just want a clean delivery of that line?
I think he just wants another sound clip.
He just wants that sound clip.
It's a sound clip. That's all.
It probably will.
We got a few
I'm,
brewing.
I'm
It's fine.
sorry, Wayne. Go ahead.
It's quite all right if you give us sound clips. That's okay. Moving on, Steph is up to guess first on this. Our next beer is a cream ale that was released in early April of 2020. Now, that is a time that is notable for, one, being very early on in the onset of the pandemic, and two, being very close to Easter. The first of those points is relevant because the release of this beer also included a bunch of charitable activities around it, which I'll talk about a little later. But the second point, as to the timing of its release, is important because the beer includes the makings of a classic treat that complements its Easter time release. Is it Peeps, peanut butter eggs, or carrot cake?
Did you say where the beer was from?
I did not, but I will tell you it's from a brewery in Idaho called Bear Island Brewing. And it's a cream ale.
I mean, Peeps would make sense because it's a cream ale. Do they have Peeps in Idaho?
Do they have Peeps? Do they have
Wait,
the internet in
You
Idaho?
know, those famous Idaho peeps.
Wayne, what are the three options again?
I'll say Peeps.
Steph is saying Peeps. Greg, for your sake, the options were Peeps, peanut butter eggs, or carrot cake. And it's your turn to guess.
I went with her last time.
And it didn't do
Didn't
well.
work out too well.
Carrot cake.
Going with carrot cakes. Dan, what do you think?
What kind of beer was it?
It is a cream ale
Cream ale.
released around Easter of last year.
I could see the peanut butter eggs working.
You're going to go peanut butter eggs? Wow, we got three
Oh.
different answers. Which one is correct? You may be shocked to hear that it's Greg.
Hey, all right, Greg.
It was, in fact, carrot cake. This beer is called Because We Carrot. It's a carrot cake-inspired cream ale from Bear Island Brewing in Boise, Idaho.
Remind me to never go to Idaho.
Appropriately coinciding with Easter, the beer emulates the classic cake with the inclusion of brown sugar, cinnamon, walnuts, and, of course, carrots.
Shit,
Now,
that actually
Of course.
sounds kind of good.
Of course.
that does actually sound kind of good. And also, I want to give shout out to this brewery because, as mentioned, the release of Because We Carrot included a drive to raise donations for the Salvation Army, discounts on the beer for pandemic-affected industry workers, and toilet paper donations, and also a program to buy pints for first responders.
Oh, that's nice.
This beer engendered a lot of really cool things, and it was made to taste like carrot cake.
I
So-
will now welcome a trip to Idaho again because of that.
Yeah. I looked at this brewery and their website and stuff. They seem pretty cool. So,
And
keep
if
an
you
eye out.
go to the Potato Museum and you're from out of state, you get free potatoes.
Wait a minute.
Oh.
There is actually a potato museum.
There's a museum
Hell
for
yeah,
everything.
it's Idaho.
What the fuck are they displaying?
potatoes.
Here's a
I don't
russet.
know. I drove
here's a
through
red
Idaho
potato.
on a Sunday.
Here's a sweet potato for the kids.
I drove through Idaho on a Sunday, and the museum is closed on Sundays.
Ah, man.
Well, so much for that. Moving on to our next beer of the game. Our guest, Greg, you are up to guess first
All
on
right,
this
here
one.
we go.
This is a collaboration beer that was made for the 2019 Collaboration Fest in Colorado. It is a rum barrel aged old ale.
Oh, hey now.
It was described by a writer for Boulder Weekly as one of the stickiest beers at the fest. Told you it was going to come back. That might be due to the inclusion of an unusual ingredient. Is that ingredient Jell-O,
Oh,
ice cream, or bubble gum?
I am going to go with the ice cream.
All right, going with the ice cream. Dan, what do you think?
I think I'm going to say ice cream as well.
All right, we got an ice cream. We got an ice cream. You scream. We scream. We all scream. Steph, what do you say?
For
Bubble
ice
gum.
cream?
Steph is going with the bubble gum. Steph, the only one who is wrong because it was, in fact, ice cream.
Would have been too literal.
It was brewed by Jagged Mountain Craft Brewery and 105 West Brewing in Denver. Rum barrel aged Imperial Ice Cream Old Ale, which is its
Oh, nice.
mouthful of a name, was aged in the barrel for 3 months, after which 30 gallons of chocolate and dark cherry fudge ice cream from a local creamery called Little Man Ice Cream
Wow.
were added to the beer. Yes, ice cream beer. Would you believe it? We're coming up on our final beer of the game.
You didn't say
I am-
Oh,
penultimate.
no.
I
No. No.
I'm doing so well.
I didn't say
You
penultimate.
did?
this time.
Oh, my God.
That was our penultimate beer. This is our final beer. So before we get to the final question, we, of course, have to add up the scores real quick to see
No,
who
we
goes
don't.
first, who goes second, who goes last. Dan and Greg are both tied right now. They both have 2 points
All right.
each, both poised to perhaps win the game. Steph, you are actually out of options because you have absolutely no questions right.
Because, Steph, you suck.
A rare poor
know.
performance. Steph has
Sorry.
been doing very well in the
Love
games
you.
lately. She hit a bit of a snag today, apparently. So she gets none. So out of a charity, we allow Steph to guess first because she's
What?
in last place.
That's not how it works.
Dan and Greg have to guess first because they are leading the pack. Steph will have the opportunity to guess last after hearing their answers, thus giving her a slight advantage that doesn't matter because she can't win anyway.
You know, I kind of feel bad. Is there a way we can give her an option for a bonus point?
Maybe we'll see.
Okay.
Let's get on to our final beer of the game.
Let's get on.
And we'll start with Greg and go to Dan
All
and then
right.
with Steph.
Here we go.
This, lastly, is a beer from Martin House Brewing in Texas. It is a brewery known for sour ales with a variety of creative flavors, but this particular beer is clean. The style of it is best described as other, and it is made to emulate a taste that every red-blooded American would know. Is it cheeseburger, French fries, or pizza?
Oh, come on. This is a complete
Guess.
cheeseburger.
All right, going with the cheeseburger. Dan, what do you think?
What kind of beer was it?
It is an other. It's an ale. It's one of
an
those.
other.
It's one of those herb spice.
Is it complete?
What do they call it now?
whatever.
Like the I'm walking on a trail beer, forage beer, or something. There's all these weird names for them now, but it's one of those.
I like other.
Yeah, other.
I'm going to say pizza.
All right. Dan is saying pizza. Something just dawned on him. Finally, Steph.
I guess I'll say French fries because it doesn't matter.
All right, Steph gets bonus points if she's correct. She's not.
No, no.
Dan was correct. It was, in fact, pizza. Would you care to share your...
Record, I was going to say pizza.
It's just
but he
other.
said it.
It's other.
Uh-huh.
The other stuff can work in like traditional styles of. I don't want to say traditional because like a cheeseburger does not make a beer traditional. However, other, if you throw pizza in the mix, means there's a tomato-based sauce or flavor profile in it, which does not really jive anywhere.
All right. I'll sure. That makes
It's
sense.
like the Steve Armstrong beer we had.
That
at
was
the
good.
Pottstown
That was
Fest.
very good. So
was really
maybe
fucking
they
good.
know what they're doing, but I would totally describe that as other.
I will give Steph a bonus point right now
Oh God.
because
Wait, how about me?
she literally, we're like 2 paragraphs ahead of this point in my little script here. I literally have a note that says, pause here for someone to mention Armstrong.
That's funny. That's funny. That is fun. That right there is funny.
Really? I did. It says it right there. Pause here for someone to mention Armstrong. It's in brackets and italicized. So yeah, it's pizza. It's called Space Pizza. 5.2%, as we said, vague ale of some sort. Brewed with tomato paste, tomato powder, and oregano. The release statement claims that they've done a lot of research on this one, and it is designed to complement that extra large cheese pizza on family game night. As mentioned, although pizza beers are relatively rare, they're not completely unheard of. But of course, all of them, Armstrong included, owe a debt of gratitude to the granddaddy, or should I say, grandmama. Mamma Mia Pizza Beer.
Yep.
From the Mamma Mia Pizza Beer Company,
Oh.
which may or may not still be in existence.
Have you ever had the Mamma Mia pizza beer?
I actually have not. I have had the Armstrong Pizza Beer.
It is absolutely horrible.
Whoa! It's not where I thought you were going with that.
I'm not surprised.
It is. Forget fucking horrible. It is unbelievable. It's so bad. It is so bad. Take a pizza, grind it up, and then put some carbonation in it. Put it in a beer. It's so bad. So bad.
Well, I guess in a way, if that's the flavor, that might have been what they were going for. Not necessarily for people to say that it was fucking terrible, but grind up a pizza and add some carbonation.
I did enjoy the Armstrong one. It's one of those beers that you want to try, but not like have a whole serving.
I'm glad that we shared one.
Like it tasted nice, but like after like a few
Sure.
sips, it's like. Yeah. But yeah, I think Mamma Mia Pizza Beer was at least the first like big commercial pizza flavored beer that was out there. But a couple people have made them since. So anyway, that's the end of the game. So now we're going to add up the scores and see who our big winners and losers are. With 3 out of 4 points, our big winner today, to my left, is Dan. Coming up just behind that with 2 points is Greg, and 1 bonus point for Steph, giving her only 1 out of 4 points in the game. So Dan is our champion today. He gets absolutely nothing for it, but bragging rights until next time.
I won't brag.
But thank you so much for playing. Thank you for watching on YouTube. But now, of course, what we got to do is shout out to our most generous patrons on Patreon. We would like to thank the following individuals very sincerely, beginning with Chris Mahoney.
I'm a banana.
And then Dana. Hi, guys. From Costco. Sean Sullivan.
Wait a fucking minute.
Oh, that's a classic. PA Brew Review. Ding dong merrily on high. Topher Simmons.
Oh, shit, I have pineapple.
Good one. Poor Man's Brewing Company.
Yeah, that's a good, 9 inches.
Jill Chivers.
Oh. I didn't want to hit that one, but oh well. We'll take it. Sorry, Jill.
Sorry, Jill. James Lamberg.
I'm going to go with the Belgian piss.
Eric Dixon.
Amazing.
Jen McDonald.
Dan, right?
Brian Mills.
I've just been using my nose, not my mouth nose.
Ron McDonald.
We're fucked.
And Joe Mansell.
It's literally full of couches.
Oh, if you want to find out how you can get on this list, get your name right on the podcast.
Oh my
get your
God,
name.
those are some of my favorites.
There's some really good ones, right?
Good. I'm glad.
And you get to hear the sound clips too, which is the best part.
Oh, I can't wait to record at Harris Family.
There's different tiers. You get your name read. You get your name in the credits. Everybody gets access to bonus content, including Last
It's
Call.
literally a room full of couches.
The other one from his was the yeasty one.
The yeasty problems.
Technical yeasty problems.
Oh, there's one more. There's one more.
And it's super legal.
And it's super legal. It's also legal to support us on Patreon at patreon.com/beerbusters. Thank you for watching. If you are doing so on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. Tell us weird beers, weird beer names, anything you think would be good fodder for a game in the comments below. Dan and Steph won't read them. We know, so it doesn't matter. It's just between you and me. And click the bell because that does something too, although I never do it, so who cares? If you're listening to the podcast and not watching on YouTube, this is where we settle up our tab.
Say, Yvonne, remember when I said I'd have to send away to NASA to calculate your bar tab?
Oh, yeah. We all had a good laugh, Mo.
The results came back today. You owe me $70 billion.
You ever search for something online and immediately after you hit enter, you think, oh God, I hope nobody sees what I just searched? That's why you need a VPN. Or maybe look at it this way. You know how uncomfortable it is when you use a public bathroom but the door doesn't lock all the way? And you think, oh God, at any second, anyone can burst in here and see my private business. Well, ExpressVPN is going to be the lock on the door that never fails you. They are consistently ranked as the #1 VPN in the world. They're the fastest and the most secure and the easiest to use for VPNs. VPNs are just going to protect everything that you do online. Nobody's going to see your credit card information. Nobody's going to see your searches on WebMD for that weird rash that showed up on your foot. All of it is going to be secure. Added benefits are you can stream content from anywhere in the world. You want to watch something from the German Netflix library? Go ahead. You want to watch some British football, soccer, whatever you want to call it? You can do that too. You know those geo-restricted videos on YouTube? Oh, this is not available in your region. Not anymore. You get the last laugh. It's easy to use. It runs in the background on your computer, your phone, your tablet. It only takes one click to run. And remember, they are the #1 VPN in the world. It's secure. It's anonymous. Nobody is going to see what you are doing. And all of your information is safe. If you want to see what all of the hubbub is about for a VPN, there's no better way to go than ExpressVPN. And this is why you need to go to tryexpressvpn.com/beerbusters. And when you sign up for a 1-year package through that website, you're going to get 3 months free. That's right. 1 year turns into 15 months. Again, that is tryexpressvpn.com/beerbusters. Protect your searches, transactions, and protect yourself. tryexpressvpn.com/beerbusters.
Well, after that debacle of a game, I say we do another pairing.
Yeah, we should. Oh, this is the one that we... Oh, no.
What?
Oh, no?
I don't do well with sour things.
Oh, yeah. So
Oh no.
we're doing a sour. We are not capitulating. Catapulting is the word I was looking for.
Capitulating.
We are catapulting flavors. We are taking sour candies. Steph has the traditional Sour Patch Kids. I have from my Yum box. I guess they're like the British version of Warheads. They're little like sour hard candies.
Warheads
kerfuffle
are
heads.
gross.
Yeah, they're called Dr. Sour, and they're all
They don't
watermelon.
want to mention war. They're kerfuffle heads.
Yeah, kerfuffle heads. But we're pairing these sour candies with the. We both have the same Berliner from Bond Place.
This happens to be Dana from Costco's favorite beer ever.
Oh, really? It is. I took a sip
right.
already. It's really nice.
I did not take a sip. I was hyping myself up.
As much as I love sour beers, I don't think a sour beer will ever be my favorite because a sour beer is not something I can drink like anytime, all the time.
Yeah, but calling this a sour beer, like I'm really starting to dislike the phrase sour beer because a Berliner Weiss is nothing like the range of sour beers is just like.
But they do all have.
Yes.
They share the quality of that puckeriness. I know we've talked about beers on the show that aren't super puckery that are sours, but they all have that tart sourness.
Yeah, I would say that a Berliner Weiss.
So there is
more,
like a through line.
It's more tart than sour.
But yeah, you're right. This is very different from other sour beers.
Well,
True.
The beer is good on its own.
So hold on, I have a question though.
Okay.
So you always tell us, Greg, to have a little bit of the food item first.
Yes.
And then the beer.
Yep.
Now both of these are sour, but Sour Patch Kids are intense.
Okay, so what's your question?
When the food is definitely going to be more intense than the beer, should you almost do it backwards and get the beer first and then the food and then more beer?
Well, what beer do you have to go with it?
We're doing the Berliner Weiss from Bonn.
Okay, so if you have a Sour Patch Kids and you eat that first, nothing will come up to it. Berliner Weiss will absolutely not even come close to matching the intensity that we talked about to the Sour Patch Kids.
Okay.
Well,
Then I'm gonna alter the order of things, and I'm gonna drink the beer first.
Okay.
Yeah, I already did that on.
Also, I think that's Greg's way of saying this ain't gonna work.
It's not going to work.
No, but I'm really curious to do it. And you do make a good point. I feel like the candies are going to be stronger, but I want to do it anyway. Well,
it tastes like the pool. You know what I mean? When you go to the pool over the summer, you get this kind of candy.
They're kind of like...
It's like those pastel mints at shitty diners.
They're like hard. They're like semi-hard candies. They're semis. You can't chew them. Oh, there's the sour.
What is happening?
Yeah, that's kind of sour.
Oh,
hey.
it's making the Berliner taste really bougie.
Did you say bougie?
Yeah, it's kind of taking it to like a Cantillon level a little bit. I'm not even kidding you.
What did Dana from Costco think?
Sour Patch Kids plus Berliner Weiss equals Cantillon.
They figured out the secret.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, no. I kind of see what you're saying. Is the sour from the candy cuts out the sour from the tart from the beer.
Are Sour Patch Kids? People are gonna hate this shit. Me talking with shit in my mouth.
By the way, that's complimentary. That's complimentary stuff, right? Sour and sour.
Mm-hmm. But are the Sour Patch Kids multiple flavors? Okay.
They're different colors. Does that mean they're different flavors?
Well, because what Dan and I are having are specifically watermelon, and they're very watermelon-y. Like candy watermelon. Which is affecting how it's pairing with the beer.
They're different colors, but I don't know that they're different flavors. I really like these with the Berliner. I'm going to say it. This is really delightful.
I think on my end, I'm getting what Greg warned us about, is that the beer is tasting like water. If anything, it's making the candy a little less sour, but it's not adding any flavor for me.
Oh, this one tastes different.
Yeah,
the blue one tastes different.
Yeah, now that I chewed the candy, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the
I should have paid attention to what color I had that made Cantillon.
Yeah, you should have.
It's probably not the blue.
That would have been nice.
I think it might have been like yellow or something.
Are they different flavors? Did you check the packaging? So we've determined that they are? Okay. I thought it was like a Fruit Loop situation.
I like this.
Yeah?
Yeah.
All right.
Berliner Weiss, Sour Patch Kids, it's a win.
It doesn't work out so well with these candies.
No.
I had one good sip at the beginning, but everything after that was kind of bad.
I don't even think it's bad. It's just the beer tastes like water to me now.
Now, the last one or two, I had a weird aftertaste.
I'm okay with this. I could eat this. So, to tease a little bit, for anyone that is or is not a patron, one of our patrons actually sent me in a little COVID care package some of these miracle fruit tablets that are you're supposed to let it dissolve in your mouth, and then you eat something sour, and the tablet is supposed to make you taste sweet instead. So in last call, I'm full of saliva right now from this, by the way. Last call, we're planning to consume one of these tablets and then redo this pairing that we're doing right now with the sour beer and the sour candies and see what happens.
Yeah, I think that's going to be.
do it.
I'm actually more interested, and I'm going to chug some water here to get the sour candy out of my mouth. I'm interested what the beer's going to taste like after the tablets. We did, and I mentioned this when we were talking about this previously about getting these tablets and doing it on the show. We did do this once before. I don't know if we recorded it though, but we did have these kind of tablets when we were at Spellbound years ago. And I remember it being a really interesting experience then, how much it does actually change your sense of taste. So I'm excited.
I'm just concerned at how long it's going to last. I'm
Yeah.
not going to be honest.
I feel like it doesn't last. Like I would say half hour at most.
All right. Maybe it'll make me stop eating.
Right? Yeah.
There you go.
I'm thinking the same thing.
This will be my diet pill I've been looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in that vein, I'm kind of anxious about this pairing, so I feel like we should just wrap up and get
to it.
Yeah. So, Greg, if the fine folks out there would want to learn more about craft tastings, where should they go?
Well, thank you, Dan. The best place is www.crafttastings.com.
Which is a very beautiful website, by the way. I was on your website earlier today. I was like, this looks really nice. I know it did. I've been on it before, and it hasn't changed a ton, but I just wanted to compliment you. Your website looks as good as your Zoom background.
Wow, that's high praise for sure.
No, if anybody ever wants to have a tasting, either with your organization or privately in your home, call me.
Do it. It's worth it. I mean, we've gone through it 7 or 8 times. Jury's still out on the number. And every time it blows us away. Even a night like tonight where it's just kind of like, yeah, pick some shit out of your pantry and have a couple of beers. And like you said, you can't go wrong. There were a couple times where the flavors didn't add up, but I wouldn't say it went wrong. It was an experiment, and we're still eating and we're still drinking. So it's perfect.
Absolutely.
Well, while you are out there visiting, of course, Craft Tastings online, don't forget to follow us at Beer Busters, Twitter and Instagram. Facebook, we are Beer Busters Podcast. There's beerbusterspodcast.com/shop. Patreon, as we've already said, make sure you're one of the cool kids who gets to click through to last call, and you get to find out what the fuck's going to happen with this Berliner Weiss and these sour candies. I'm terrified. So here we go.
Excited.
Here we go. And of course, youtube.com/beerbusterspodcast. You get to see the visuals of Happy Fun Time. And Wayne does a hell of a job editing those.
Oh, thanks. It's also a lot of fun. But yeah, I want to we said this a number of times over the years, but I would like to come up with something else to throw up on our YouTube channel here and there. Maybe not as often as like the games and stuff. I mean, it is a lot of work to get it done and get it up, so it's not something we can add a ton of work to. But I do want to pay more attention to our YouTube channel. So, if you've been checking out our videos on YouTube that we've been releasing lately and you like them, let us know. Let us know what you like about it. Let us know what you would like to see us do if we would do more video content, because it's something I'd be interested in looking forward to.
Yeah, I've been trying to think of video ideas for a while.
Yeah, we all have. But
yeah. Well, now's the time. No time like a global pandemic.
Yeah. Well, the cool thing would inspire the games videos. Steph's like, shut the fuck up. I have to pee. Since we're recording the video, we're doing it on a video call anyway. There's already video there, so why not just use it? Was my point.
Can I say fuck?
Can you say fuck?
Yes.
I think you have.
Okay, just checking.
Oh man. Oh man. Well, and of course, I'm trying to make a point to this.
Wait, can Dana from Costco say fuck?
No, she's physically incapable.
Oh man.
Okay.
It'd be hard to say fuck if you didn't have any teeth.
Fuck.
It's a fricative.
Fuck.
We're all
fricative.
We're all trying to do it now, aren't we?
A fricative
Fuck.
consonant.
Oh my god.
My
and
God.
the episode so Steph can pee.
Yes. Don't forget, we have the event coming up, the Grain and Malt Symposium with Deer Creek and U Sciences. It's going to be awesome. It's March 8th and 9th. Get your tickets while you can. We're going to be doing a happy hour discussion. Pizza will be involved, and I am so happy about all of that. Details, beerbusterspodcast.com, and we can link you to everything that you need. Thank you for listening. Throw us a rating and review on whatever podcast app you are listening to us on. Do that for all the podcasts you listen to, because that's how we roll. Well, unfortunately, this does bring us to the end of another episode of Beer Busters, and as I knew it would be, it was an awesome time recording with you, Greg. You were the man. Thank you so much for coming back for another year. And if you haven't...
30 seconds, Steph. 30 seconds.
If you haven't listened to the older episodes with Greg, go back and do that. Experiment on your own. It is absolutely worth it. Well, I'm Dan Baker, joined by my co-host and virologist,
Steph Hefner.
Go Pee, and the demented and fermented
Wayne Baker.
No squids were harmed in the making of this episode. I don't think baby chicks were either, but
Probably
Steph's
not.
bladder, I think, was.
Maybe a little bit.
Just a tiny bit. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
You know, she could have just said her name earlier, and you could have just inserted it at the proper point, and she
Nah.
could have gone and peed.
That's work.